On that day, he told himself he came home from work to play a game. He started the game software, thinking he would be online today as well. Shooter gamers from around the world awaited their virtual reality multiple battlefield. His avatar materialized in the game commonly known as VMB. A diverse arsenal of weapons, from the near future to past wars, was available. With a body enhanced by a powered suit, inhuman action was possible. Because of this, VMB was far more than just another shooter game. For him, this game had become his entire world. Alright, he thought. With a determined cry to go, he launched himself into the battle. He was completely engrossed in the current game mode, anti-enemy battle. If you were shot mid-air, you'd fall off the map and die. A sudden impact from an unseen force caught him completely by surprise. He was confident, thinking to himself that he would not be the one to fall. He declared he was not a mask and therefore would not fall. He realized his overconfidence was a fatal mistake, muttering that he was too careless. With a small gasp, he plummeted into the digital abyss below. A sharp, electronic beep confirmed his death as he cried out. He found himself in a new world, wondering where he was. He checked his email from the game administrators, but it was just an error. He then tried to access his map, his eyes wide with concern. The map data had been initialized, returning a "not found" error. He wondered if the shop was still available to him. He confirmed that summoning weapons was still possible. Okay, he thought. He couldn't contact anyone, assuming it was for a secret area mission. Deciding to move forward, he began to run through the field. He suddenly lost his footing and tumbled down a steep embankment. He felt a strange sense of unease, wondering what was wrong. He coughed up a mouthful of fluttering insects, crying out in disgust. He screamed to himself that there were bugs in his mouth. He spat out the water and insects with a horrified retch. He yelled that he had drunk bugs, utterly repulsed by the experience. He reasoned that VMB was not programmed with this level of realism. He could feel the temperature of the water. How could this be a game? He realized instantly that seeing with his naked eyes was different. The natural colors he saw were not those of a game world. He understood with dawning horror that this was reality. It was real. He wondered why he was here, dressed in his game avatar's gear. He tried to log out, but a sharp beep accompanied a glaring error message. He couldn't log out. He wondered if this was really happening. Are you serious? He thought, the full weight of the situation crashing down. The system continued to beep, a constant reminder of his trapped state. He concluded that no matter how many times he tried, he couldn't log out. The game system was running, but this wasn't the game world. What did it mean? He sat alone, wondering where in the world he could possibly be. A sudden noise from the woods startled him. What was that? His expression shifted to one of pure, focused alarm. His gamer instincts took over, and he immediately took cover. He realized it was just his usual habit to hide, but still. His minimap displayed red enemy signatures approaching his position. His targeting system activated, wondering if it was another player. But it was not a player, it was a group of monstrous goblins. He stared in disbelief, recognizing the creatures as goblins. He wondered what they were, knowing they were never in the VMB game. Damn it! Where am I? He thought, wondering where he had fallen. He compared his situation to the fantasy light novels he had read. He realized he had been transported with his gun to a world of swords and magic. He wondered how he could get home, and if this gun was his only way. He saw the goblins returning to their den, a dark cave in the rocks. He wondered where the place he could return to even was. He concluded that they were the natives, and not necessarily his enemies. He noticed one of the goblins was carrying something large and heavy. The goblin threw its captive to the ground, a young human woman. He couldn't believe it, he didn't even think of her as an ally. The captive woman let out a muffled whimper as the goblins surrounded her. She struggled desperately, but was completely helpless against the leering creatures. She let out a terrified cry as they began to drag her deeper inside. Tears streamed down her face as she let out another muffled scream. From his hiding place, he watched the scene unfold, his rifle at the ready. What is this? He wondered. Is this why I was brought here? He asked himself if he was meant to be a savior. The MP5 in his hands felt like a solid, reassuring lump of iron. He wondered if he could even defeat the goblins with this gun. He knew there was no guarantee he could find more ammunition. But he knew one thing for certain, the girl was alive. With a sharp click, he made his choice. Let's go, he thought. He knew that if his one shot at an ambush failed, her fate was sealed. He decided against a direct assault, thinking he would have to escape. He engaged his suit's ambush and sound collection modes. The system confirmed on, his visor displaying a tactical overlay. He pressed himself against the rock wall, observing two goblins ahead. He sensed 3 more ahead, and many more deeper inside. He knew a sudden gunshot would alert all the other goblins. He decided it was time for his suppressed pistol to make its appearance. With practiced silence, he began his infiltration of the goblin nest. He stopped, a questioning sound escaping his lips as he sensed something. He peered into a large cavern, discovering a horrifying charnel pit. Corpses, he thought, his mind reeling from the grotesque sight. He saw they were all female, with clear signs of torture. I can't let this happen, he thought, his resolve hardening into cold fury. He knew he had to save the girl as quickly as possible. He screamed in his mind that this was like something from a twisted doujinshi. He declared that such an inhuman act could not be forgiven. His target was singular, his purpose clear: take the first one instantly. The bullet found its mark, a perfect, bloody headshot. He knew there could be no counterattack, no forgiveness for them. He realized this was reality, as the bodies did not disappear. He knew that if this continued, he would have no way to get CP. He remembered that CP, or crystal points, were the most important thing in VMB. When an enemy was defeated, you could acquire the crystal it left behind. CP was necessary for everything: buying items, ammo, and repairing equipment. Crouched in the cave, he worries about his dwindling CP supply. He calculates the cost of ammunition needed to defeat the goblins ahead. With a grunt, he adjusts his headset, deciding to push forward. He resolves to worry later, confident in his advanced equipment. He moves silently through the shadows, his suppressed pistol leading the way. From his concealed position, he takes careful aim at the goblin group. 4 grotesque goblins paw and leer at their bound, terrified female captive. The young blonde woman lies helpless on the ground, her wrists and ankles tied. A volley of sticky pellets splatters across the goblins, blinding them. The girl looks up in shock as the creatures stumble around her in confusion. A close-up shows the viscous black substance dripping from a goblin's eye. The captive cries out as the splattered goblins recoil in pain. Shubaltz confirms the nearby goblins are neutralized and prepares for the rest. Another goblin leaps from the darkness to attack him, letting out a screech. He knows he must fight with grim determination if he is to save her. He unleashes a hail of bullets, feeling no guilt for his actions. The creatures are torn apart as he reflects on his own cold-blooded nature. A direct hit causes a goblin's head to explode in a spray of gore. Standing over a corpse, he calmly announces that he is reloading. The empty magazine clatters to the stone floor of the dark cavern. He slams a fresh magazine into his MP5 with practiced, efficient speed. He opens fire on a new, charging wave of goblin reinforcements. The bullets rip through the horde, their bodies contorting on impact. Suddenly, a swirling vortex of energy materializes, blocking his shots. He stares in shock, wondering if it's some kind of projectile weapon. His bullets flatten uselessly against the impossible magical barrier. He marvels at its incredible power, questioning if it could be magic. The goblin shaman appears, asking if this is the girl's doing. The shaman gathers crackling energy between its hands with a piercing screech. Shubaltz fires uselessly as the shaman prepares its devastating counterattack. After the battle, he stands surrounded by the corpses of the slain goblins. Empty shell casings litter the ground, a testament to the fierce fight. His expression is grim as he surveys the bloody aftermath. He stands amidst a sea of corpses, his sensor showing no more enemies. He walks towards the captive girl, wondering about her condition. The girl is still gagged and crying, her face a mask of utter terror. She flinches away as his armored hand reaches out towards her. He gently removes the ball gag from her mouth. Kneeling before her, he softly asks if she is all right. She responds in a frantic, lilting language that he cannot understand. He looks on in confusion, letting out a small, questioning "huh?" He realizes with a jolt that he cannot understand her language. He clutches his head, frustrated that the trope of understanding other worlds is false. He quickly reminds himself that he is the foreigner in this land. The girl looks up at him, still bound and utterly confused. He recalls that his game, VMB, has players from all over the world. He accesses his suit's menu to activate the auto-translation function. The girl timidly asks what happened, her voice trembling with fear. He is relieved to see her words instantly translated on his display. The girl is still confused, thinking he won't be able to understand her. She asks if he speaks the Orlandic language, if he's a foreigner. Tears well in her eyes as she desperately asks if he can understand her. He gives a slight nod, confirming that he understands everything she says. She breaks down, sobbing with relief, saying she thought it was all over. He begins to cut the thick ropes that are binding her wrists. He kneels before her, continuing to free her from her bonds. He asks if her fear has begun to subside yet. Her back is to him, and he can see her small frame is still trembling. He places a reassuring hand on her shoulder, telling her it's okay. He kneels beside her, repeating that everything is okay now. He knows his own words won't reach her, but hopes the sentiment does. She looks up at him, her fear finally beginning to fade from her eyes. She introduces herself as Azuri Zevernal, a guild investigator. She then politely asks her strange, armored savior for his name. He reflects on his own name as he looks into the dark, winding cave. A flashback reveals his true name is Saito Ren, a single man. He lived for FPS games, earning prize money at major tournaments. His team was Powder, and his player name was Shubalts. Back in the present, Azuri waits patiently for his answer. He kneels, weighing the choice between his real name and his player name. He debates for a moment which name he should give to her. He looks at her and gives his answer, Shubalts. She repeats the name, adding a respectful suffix to it. She thanks him for the rescue, seeing him as a renowned adventurer. She asks if he would escort her, as she was attacked during an investigation. She explains with tears in her eyes that she was separated from her companions. She knows she must report what happened but is now alone and vulnerable. He agrees, seeing no reason to refuse a trip to where people are. As he suggests they leave, she asks him to wait for a moment. She says a goblin mage should have a magic stone they can retrieve. He is confused by her question about retrieving the magic stone. He wonders with excitement if she could possibly mean CP, crystal points. He eagerly agrees to get it, but she notes it's too dark to see. She closes her eyes and concentrates, a ball of light forming in her hands. She casts the spell, light, sending the glowing orb into the air. He is amazed by the magic as she points out the shaman's body. She spots her lost tool bag near the corpse with a gasp. She happily retrieves her bag, which the goblins had taken from her. She pulls a small, sharp dagger from within the bag. She suddenly spins around, dagger in hand, startling Shubalts. He thinks she is attacking him, asking what's suddenly going on. She dashes past him with surprising and unexpected speed. She straddles the goblin shaman's corpse and begins to dissect it. Shubalts looks on in utter shock and revulsion at the scene. He asks what on earth she is doing as she carves into the body. He shouts that what she is doing is absolutely terrifying. She proudly presents the blood-slick magic stone she has retrieved. She offers it to him as proof of the goblin mage's subjugation. He hesitantly takes the gruesome, blood-stained object from her. He realizes it won't convert to points, it is different from a game crystal. Azuri and Shubalts walk through the rocky canyon, and she has a question. She asks if the way he defeated the goblin earlier was a form of magic. She notes he doesn't seem to be a mage, wondering if his weapon is magical. He thinks he can't explain it, as Azuri concludes it must be a magic weapon. She marvels that she has never seen such a powerful magic weapon before. She speculates he might be from the Northern Empire, which has magic soldiers. Shubalts decides it's best to be vague about his complicated situation. Azuri blushes with embarrassment, apologizing for asking so many questions. They emerge from the canyon as his HUD shows the time is 22:34. Azuri worries that it's dark and they don't know the way back. Standing at a cliff's edge, they are lost, and Azuri wonders what to do. Shubalts looks over at her just as she lets out a surprised gasp. She spots a magical light ball in the sky, certain it's a signal from her allies. A woman with fiery red hair emerges from the darkness, calling out to Azuri. The woman, Remy, confirms that Azuri is safe, much to her relief. Azuri winces, sensing that she is about to get a stern lecture from her senior. Shubalts stands back, quietly observing and contemplating his next move. He confirms to himself that this is another world, unable to explain himself. He knows these people will never understand his VMB powers or his origins. He resolves to disclose the absolute minimum amount of information about himself. He will wait until he understands the reason he was brought to this world. Remy approaches, addressing him as Shubaltskuan and expressing her relief. The stern guild investigator formally introduces herself to him as Remy. She requests that he accompany them to a nearby village to file a report. They soon arrive at a rustic village nestled among terraced hills. Shubalts feels events are unfolding without him as children stare at his strange gear. Inside a stone house, Remy sits and prepares to hear the official report. An investigator with long, dark hair begins to recount his findings. He reports that the goblin corpses had numerous peculiar stab wounds. Upon closer inspection, he found nothing at all inside the wounds. He concludes the cause was either magic or an attack from a magic weapon. Remy listens intently, noting that his findings match Azuri's own report. She turns her attention from the report to the matter at hand. Remy asks her assembled team for their thoughts on what to do with Shubalts. Azuri chimes in, saying his magic and equipment are unlike anything she's seen. She adds that since he can't communicate, he can't be a spy from another country. The investigator agrees, noting Schubaltz has been observing everything since he arrived. Meanwhile, Schubaltz is outside, having a curious standoff with a large duck. The investigator reports that Schubaltz seems baffled by everything, a complete novice. He speculates that Schubaltz might be the exiled, naive son of a fallen noble. Remy considers this, thinking leaving him alone seems harmless for now. She makes her decision. Schubaltz will be placed under their direct supervision. Azuri is absolutely delighted by this outcome, smiling brightly. Later, at an inn, Remy asks him to accompany them to the fortress city of Balga. He wonders what a fortress city is and why he is being taken there. He panics, thinking the name sounds like a prison and that he'll be arrested. Remy and Azuri stand together, encouraging him to come along with them. In the cart, Remy is glad Azuri is on board with the plan. Azuri admits she was just happy that he would be coming with them. The cart departs from the village, beginning the long journey to Balga. Remy decides to use the long travel time to teach Schubaltz their language. In a sun-dappled clearing, Azuri sits with a book, ready to begin the lesson. Schubaltz focuses intently, studying the unfamiliar script of this new world. He realizes with a start that he can read the words through his goggles. His suit's text chat translation function allows him to understand the book's contents. As Azuri speaks the words aloud, he captures the audio for his database. He adds words like bird, meal, and run to his translation function. He thinks learning to speak is just a matter of time, then hears a sudden beep. He springs to his feet, announcing something is coming, but Azuri sees nothing. From a distance, Remy shouts a warning, telling them something is approaching. A pack of massive, crystalline-furred glass wolves bursts from the trees. Remy yells that they cannot outrun them and must prepare to fight. Both Azuri and Remy draw their swords, taking a defensive stance. Azuri raises her blade, her expression grim and determined for the battle. Schubaltz's eyes widen in surprise at what he sees next. He is amazed that Remy pulled a sword and shield far larger than the pouch itself. He can only conclude her bag must be some kind of four-dimensional pouch. Remy shouts for his position as Schubaltz kneels and takes aim with his MP5. His HUD acquires a target, and he confirms its location to his allies. He declares that he will attack, his finger resting on the trigger. His advanced targeting system locks onto the lead glass wolf. He unleashes a hail of bullets, spent casings flying from his weapon. The lead wolf yelps in pain as the rounds tear into its body. It collapses to the ground, dead, as the rest of the pack recoils in shock. Remy looks on from behind, impressed by the power of his strange weapon. He lowers his firearm, classifying it in his mind as a magic weapon of unknown attribute. Remy praises his excellent skill, noting the pelts are valuable before urging them onward. They finally crest a hill and see their destination, the fortress city of Balga. Schubaltz looks up at the massive stone gate, taking in the city's grand scale. A panoramic view reveals the vast expanse of Balga's endless rooftops. As their cart enters the city, he asks Azuri what he should do here. Azuri smiles, telling him that for now, she has a plan. She leads him into the bustling Adventurers Guild, saying he needs an ID card. She explains that without one, he can't do anything, so he must register as an adventurer. The guild official asks for a single drop of his blood for biometric registration. Schubaltz recoils in shock and confusion at the sudden request for his blood. He realizes this is what Azuri meant when she warned him it would be painful. He yelps as the sharp device pricks his finger, drawing a drop of blood. A new card is dispensed from the strange machine, surprising both of them. Azuri leans in, shocked by the bizarre and unfamiliar design of his new ID card. Schubaltz looks at the card, puzzled by its strange markings. He holds up the card, wondering what it is, as Azuri looks on, confused. His HUD activates, revealing that his own status is written on the card. It lists his name as Schubaltz Powder, and his place of origin as VMB. The card shows no weapon skills or magic, and his guild rank is the lowest, G. The elf receptionist cheerfully reminds him that he now has an obligation to pay taxes. She explains he can pay taxes with his earnings from quests and monster hunting. Schubaltz reflects that this whole situation feels just like a game. Azuri excitedly grabs him, saying they should sell the goblin parts and get a meal. He is pulled along by her, wondering what has just happened to his life. Azuri stares in surprise, recognizing the man who saved her from the goblins. Schubaltz internally registers the term mask, a word he now knows is a slur. The Adventurers Guild Hall is a bustling hub of activity, filled with armed warriors. A guild official with a monocle appraises the goblin shaman stone, declaring it excellent. He confirms the price is 50,000 ol and that points will be awarded. The official congratulates Schubaltz, handing him his card, now upgraded to F rank. Shubaltz looks at his new rank with a wry smile, unimpressed with his own progress. An establishing shot shows the grand, ivy-covered stone building of the inn. Alone in his room, he activates his VMB system with a soft beep. His HUD is a mess of errors. He confirms he still cannot log out. He discovers a new option has unlocked in the system, avatar customization. A holographic menu displays his vast collection of high-tech VMB power armor. He decides the armor is far too conspicuous for this new world. He resolves to choose clothing that will allow him to blend in better. He selects the FN5-7 pistol, noting its practical, high-capacity magazine. In a shimmer of light, his gear changes to a simple white winter coat. The newly materialized pistol is holstered securely at his side. He tucks extra magazines into a harness hidden beneath his new coat. Descending the stairs, he thinks his new look is less noticeable, as Azuri spots him. Azuri wishes him a good morning, and he politely returns the greeting. She asks his plans. He intends to buy supplies with his newfound money. Beaming with excitement, Azuri asks if she can accompany him on his shopping trip. A panoramic view shows the sprawling city. Azuri offers to be his guide. In the crowded market, she asks what he will buy first. He replies that he needs a pouch. He points to her bag, identifying it as a four-dimensional pouch. Azuri looks at him with wide, curious eyes, asking if he can use one. He innocently asks if there is a special technique required to operate it. A nearby ruffian mocks him for not even knowing how to use a tool bag. The adventurers explain that one simply needs to channel magic into the pouch. Shubaltz wonders what magic is, realizing with a start that he cannot use it. The lead adventurer asks what's wrong, a look of dawning suspicion on his face. He leans in close, his voice a sneer as he asks if Shubaltz is a mask. The man erupts in laughter, declaring it's the first time he's ever seen one. He warns Azuri that associating with such a useless person will lead to her death. He grabs her arm, telling her to leave the mask and join his party instead. His friends make lewd comments, mocking the physical abilities of a mask. Azuri struggles against their grasp, her face a mask of fear and anger. With a surge of strength, she manages to shove one of the men away. She fiercely defends Shubaltz, insisting he is strong even without magic. Shubaltz now understands, mask is a derogatory name for the magicless. The ruffian scoffs, offering to test just how strong this mask really is. As a senior adventurer, he offers to teach them about the ways of magic. He makes a crude, leering offer to show Azuri what an adventurer's night is like. Shubaltz calmly asks Azuri about the consequences of injuring someone in the city. She explains that while it's a crime for commoners, it is overlooked between adventurers. Azuri apologizes for the trouble she has caused him, but he remains composed. The ruffian roars, his body contorting as he uses body enhancement magic to transform. The massive beastman stomps forward as Shubaltz reflects that he never fought back home. He reminds himself that in his old life, he was simply an FPS player. With a deafening roar, the beastman swings its massive fist, shouting for him to die. Shubaltz easily sidesteps the clumsy attack and shoots the creature's hand. The beastman lets out a piercing scream of pure, unadulterated agony. He clutches his wounded hand, wailing about the incredible, unexpected pain. Enraged and confused, he demands to know what Shubaltz did to him. Shubaltz coolly states that an adventurer should never reveal their hand so easily. He grabs the beast, noting that while he may lack magic, his opponent lacks footwork. The other ruffians charge forward, furious that their leader has been attacked. The city guard finally arrives, demanding to know what the commotion is about. Shubaltz grabs Azuri's hand, telling her it is time for them to run. He pulls her along, his gloved hand holding hers firmly as they flee. They escape into the city's labyrinthine streets, leaving the chaos far behind. Having escaped, they catch their breath in a quiet, secluded alleyway. Shubaltz's HUD confirms that they are no longer being pursued. Azuri turns to him, her expression serious, saying she needs to talk to him. She tells him it's about the term mask that the adventurers were using. She explains that in this world, an energy called magic dwells within all things. This magic is used to power everything, from lanterns to complex machinery. However, a rare few are born without magic, known as the magicless. Naturally, these individuals are unable to use the world's common magical tools. She looks at him with deep sympathy, saying it must be incredibly difficult to live here. He explains that since he wasn't born in this world, he has no magic. He pauses for a moment, his expression thoughtful as he considers his words. He says he came from a place where he lived his entire life without magic. Azuri is completely stunned by this revelation, falling back in shock. He states that his family line has no magic, so living here won't be a problem. He rests his hand on his pistol, explaining that this is his combat strength. He stands before a mental image of his VMB arsenal, which he calls his arms. He smiles reassuringly, saying that as long as he has his arms, he'll be fine. Azuri, unfamiliar with the term, hesitantly asks if she can touch one. With a soft click, she takes the futuristic pistol into her own hands. As her fingers touch the weapon, a strange, glowing crest appears on her hand. The crest vanishes as quickly as it appeared, leaving Shubalts momentarily confused. Azuri gasps, wondering if what she just saw was a rare, bloodline skill. She recalls that such inherited skills are possessed only by a few royal families. She excitedly asks if he is a member of the royal family, but he denies it. He looks down sadly, explaining that he has no country or home to return to. Azuri looks at him with a gentle, understanding smile. She says that while life is hard for the magicless, he will be okay. She offers to help him in any way she can, telling him to just ask. Some time later, Shubalts finds himself surrounded by a pack of snarling glass wolves. He recalls Azuri's advice as he prepares himself for the impending fight. He knows he must earn his own money for taxes, so he takes aim. He opens fire with his MP5, the weapon's report echoing through the forest. His eyes are cold and focused, the expression of a seasoned, professional hunter. He stands over the bodies of the slain wolves, letting out a quiet sigh. He dislikes the grim task of harvesting the proof of subjugation from the corpses. He kneels, his combat knife ready to carve into the creature's tough hide. Suddenly, his HUD beeps. He looks up, sensing that something is approaching. A merchant's carriage thunders past him on the narrow forest road. The driver's face is a mask of pure terror as he screams a warning to run. A sudden sound startles Shubalts, his expression changing to one of alert surprise. The forest floor trembles as a dire glass wolf charges forward at incredible speed. The monstrous, crystalline beast bursts from the undergrowth, its form overwhelming. He screams out in terror, questioning what these monstrous creatures could possibly be. He finds himself facing down two of the massive, reptilian beasts. One of the wolves opens its snarling maw, preparing a devastating attack. A brilliant orb of pure, destructive energy begins to coalesce within its throat. It unleashes a powerful shotgun blast of razor-sharp crystal shards. He cries out as he dives desperately for cover, caught in the open. He realizes with dawning horror that the beast is even faster than his power suit. The monster closes in for the kill, its massive claws ready to strike. He grits his teeth, knowing he is in a terrible, life-threatening situation. A massive explosion of gore erupts as the beast's attack is somehow thwarted. The concussive blast sends a shockwave through the forest, a testament to its power. He activates his counter-barrier shield just in time, the hexagonal field absorbing the impact. He knows this VMB shield, the CBS, is only a short-term defense. With this, he thinks, he can repel the enemy's attack and create an opening. He shoves his rifle through the barrier, preparing for a decisive counterattack. He declares he will shoot it down, even if it is complete overkill. He is shocked to see the beast is still standing after taking the full clip. The beast is heavily wounded, but not dead, and his rifle is damaged. He curses, realizing the shield's energy drains far too quickly. He watches the wounded beast, its movements now more predictable. A huge chunk of the beast's side is blown off by his next attack. He realizes with grim satisfaction that he can use his game-like movements here. He scoffs that the creature's attack patterns are too slow and predictable. His tactical overlay highlights the beast's weak points as he unloads another magazine. The beast roars in agony as bullets tear through its softer underbelly. He lands gracefully after dodging, his attack having crippled the monster. With a sharp, metallic click, he reloads his rifle with a fresh magazine. He stands over the fallen beast, catching his breath after the intense battle. He's surprised, noting that this world uses magic as if it were natural. The old merchant from the caravan cautiously calls out to him. The merchant rushes to his side, asking if he is all right, apologizing profusely. Shubalts reassures the man, asking if he himself is okay. The merchant is fine, but amazed he got involved with such a monster. He is stunned Shubalts defeated a dire glass wolf without a single scratch. Shubalts begins the grim, bloody task of harvesting the monster's core. He holds up his hand, slick with the creature's dark blood. The merchant rationalizes that a magic user would possess a non-elemental magic stone. The merchant asks if he will only recover the stone, not the valuable parts. Shubalts explains he has no tool bag, so the merchant offers to buy everything. He introduces himself as Malta, a merchant based in the capital city. Shubalts returns the introduction, stating he is an adventurer. Malta says they will settle the price at his shop in Balga. Malta offers him a ride, but Shubalts declines, saying he has other things to do. They agree to meet in the city of Balga, and Malta's cart departs. Alone, Schubaltz thinks about how much he needs a four-dimensional pouch. Without one, he realizes, the amount of gear he can carry is severely limited. He clenches his fist, another, more pressing concern coming to mind. He checks his HUD, realizing his ammunition consumption is dangerously high. At this rate, he knows his precious CP reserves will not last long. He considers switching to cheaper melee weapons like a bayonet or machete. He quickly dismisses the idea as suicidal, knowing he would surely die. As he scrolls through his menu, he has a sudden, brilliant idea. He places the Goblin Shaman's magic stone on his VMB shop interface. The system recognizes the object, displaying a conversion prompt. His eyes widen in shock as he processes the incredible implication. His HUD asks if he wants to convert this crystal point. The title card for the chapter appears as he realizes what this means. He wonders aloud if this world's magic stones can become CP. He knows he must convert it immediately if it's compatible. The conversion is successful, granting him a meager 30 CP. His initial excitement turns to disappointment, the amount is so small. He calculates that it is barely enough to purchase a single magazine. He lets out a weary sigh, realizing the grind ahead will be difficult. He looks out over the city, musing on the magic stones of this world. He realizes they are this world's equivalent of fossil fuels. They are the electricity that powers the city's streetlights. They are the gas that fuels the ovens in every bakery. They support the various infrastructures that make city life possible. He sees them for sale in the market, but knows they are expensive. He shouts in frustration at the exorbitant price of the magic stones. He sighs, knowing that for him, they are currently far too costly. He steels his resolve, knowing he must find another way. The flamboyant guild master of Balga welcomes him to the guild hall. He politely asks Schubaltz to present his guild card for processing. Schubaltz presents the proof of his kill, wrapped in a cloth bag. He unwraps the massive, crystalline fangs of the dire glass wolf. The guild master identifies the fangs, his expression one of pure shock. He notes that these creatures are always found in packs in the wild. He is stunned that a mere F-rank adventurer could accomplish such a feat. Schubaltz humbly replies that it was just a stroke of luck. He receives his reward, 40 silver coins, a total of 40,000 ol. He quietly wonders how much that would be in Japanese yen. The next day, he sets out to find the merchant's shop. He wanders the streets of Balga, looking for his destination. He finds the Malta Company, a massive, opulent building. He is shocked to see that it is only the Balga branch. The interior is a high-end luxury goods store, stunning him into silence. He looks at the exquisite jewelry, realizing it is a very fancy shop. He feels completely out of place amidst the wealth and luxury. Malta greets him warmly, welcoming him to his establishment. He leads Schubaltz inside, who is still a bit overwhelmed. Malta explains his business started with magic stones, which is why he's here. But his voice drops, hinting at his true, more important purpose. He declares with wild excitement that he is here for the new labyrinth. Schubaltz is confused, asking what a labyrinth is. Malta explains it's a place where magic stones are everywhere. Schubaltz can only react with shocked disbelief at this revelation. A mysterious and vast labyrinth, a gigantic underground maze, has existed since ancient times. This ultra-hazardous zone is a place where demonic beasts swarm in overwhelming numbers. And then, when one of the monsters is struck down and dies within its walls, its body is immediately absorbed, leaving behind only the core, a single magic stone. Because of this, an unexplored labyrinth is a place absolutely filled with magic stones. You can even dig valuable magic stones right out of the walls and floor. Rare and even gigantic magic stones appear one after another in a festive gold rush. Malta finishes his exciting tale, leaving a stunned Azuri to exclaim how amazing it is. A fire of determination ignites in Schubaltz. He wants to hunt for those stones. Malta regretfully informs him that only qualified explorers of D rank or higher can enter. Still, Malta is sure that someone with Schubaltz's skill will be active inside soon. Schubaltz realizes he must rank up, lamenting that he is still only F rank. Malta presents the payment for the dire wolf, 200 gleaming silver coins. Schubaltz is taken aback, thinking that this is an incredibly large amount of money. Malta explains the pelt was undamaged, which is why the price was so high. He praises Schubaltz again, saying his technique for killing monsters so cleanly is wonderful. Schubaltz expresses his wish to continue their mutually beneficial business relationship in the future. He then quickly presents the smaller magic stones, asking if they are the same. Malta identifies them as simple non-elemental stones, surprised by the quantity he has. The merchant, slightly flustered, asks what Schubaltz intends to do with them. He asks Malta to sell him a large quantity of the non-elemental stones. With a new bag full of magic stones, Shubaltz walks through the city streets. He peeks into the bag, pleased that Malta gave him a good price. He knows he must convert these stones into precious CP as soon as possible. With his resources replenished, he stands before the guild's quest board, his goal clear. He pulls a quest from the board, planning to complete high-point missions. But before he begins grinding quests, he decides on his next, crucial step. He enters the Balga archives, seeking vital knowledge about this unfamiliar world. Surrounded by books, he begins his research, starting with the ecology of monsters. He realizes with a sigh that there is an overwhelming amount to learn. Knowing he can't possibly remember everything, he resorts to a different method. His suit systems scan the pages, digitizing the information and creating a library. As his system scans, he finds a book with a description of explorers. The ancient text describes them as specialists, professionals in labyrinth exploration. It tells of the past, when reckless adventurers lost their lives in the maze. To prevent this, the guild restricted information and created a specialized profession. These specialists, clad in unique gear, became known as the labyrinth explorers. He learns he needs to be D rank, but restricted information prevents him learning more. He decides his goal is to become an explorer, to gather magic stones inside. He has a clear path forward, but a nagging question still remains. As he gathered all this information, one thing became painfully clear to him. In the entire Balga archives, there was no information on myths or legends. He couldn't find a single story about transfers, or any record of otherworlders. He looks out over the vast city, the reason for his arrival still unknown. A way to return to his own world, a place he can only see now in data, remains completely unknown to him. His new quest takes him to the snowy Balga North Guild garrison. Bundled in a heavy cloak, he trudges through the deep, falling snow. He lets out a weary sigh, his breath fogging in the frigid air. He checks his mission details, a Harpia subjugation, with a local party meetup. He enters the garrison's common room, a chaotic and noisy hub for adventurers. He asks a grizzled adventurer for directions to the Harpia subjugation party. The man points him towards a table in the corner where his party awaits. He offers a polite thank you, grateful for the help in the crowded room. At the table, he meets a young woman named Lise and her brother, Rudy. He introduces himself as the adventurer Shubaltz, returning their formal greeting. He sits with them, observing that both of the siblings seem quite young. His HUD confirms they are barely adults, the age of majority being 15. He checks his quest details, recalling it was meant to be a 6-person party. He wonders where the remaining members of their party could possibly be. A gruff voice calls out, mocking the gathered low-rankers, with a sneer. A large, bearded man introduces himself as Kungr, a B-rank and their leader. He gestures to a large, cloaked man and a small archer, named Boy and Pewty. He then turns his dismissive gaze towards Lise, Rudy, and Shubaltz. The siblings introduce themselves as C-rank, but Kungr points accusingly at Shubaltz. Kungr explodes with rage, furious that an F-ranker was assigned to this mission. He accuses the guild of trying to get them all killed with this mixed-rank party. Shubaltz calmly understands Kungr's anger, comparing it to a newbie joining a pro lobby. He looks up and calmly reassures the enraged leader about his combat abilities. Kungr shoves him, sneering that he is just an inexperienced amateur. He tells the F-ranker not to be a hindrance to their important mission. Shubaltz wonders why someone so volatile is the leader, as Rudy explains it's customary. Kungr relegates Shubaltz to the role of porter, ordering him to carry the baggage. With the dysfunctional party formed, Kungr gives the order, and they head out. Shubaltz reflects that while he possesses the knowledge, he lacks any real experience. He resolves to learn what he can from the other adventurers on this mission. The party ventures into the snowy woods, beginning their perilous subjugation quest. Lise remarks on how far they have traveled deep into the mountainside. Shubaltz suddenly holds up a hand, his senses telling him to stop. He relays the command to the others, bringing the party to a halt. He looks ahead, wondering what danger he has just sensed in the woods. They discover a gruesome pit filled with the skeletal remains of countless creatures. Shubaltz recoils in horror, asking what this gruesome scene could possibly be. Kungr grimly identifies the site as the leftovers from a Harpia feeding ground. He explains they only eat the soft organs, leaving the hard parts behind. Boy, one of the cloaked figures, warns that the Harpia's saliva contains pathogens. When other animals eat the remains, they become infected and spread the disease. They spot a village nearby, realizing the Harpia nest is dangerously close to it. Kungr gives a grim smile, knowing this means their targets are very close. He orders them to bury the corpses and make camp for the night. The weary party begins to set up their camp in the snowy clearing. Shubaltz watches them, letting out another weary sigh into the cold air. Lise observes the veteran members of the party, noting their quiet efficiency. Lise approaches Schubaltz and asks if he would be able to start the campfire. He agrees, but instead of using magic, he pulls out a single bullet. With practiced hands, he carefully removes the warhead from the bullet casing. He then sprinkles a small amount of gunpowder onto a pile of dry leaves. Rudy watches this strange process with growing confusion, calling out to him. He asks what he's doing, saying a simple fire spell would be instantaneous. Schubaltz looks up and plainly states that he cannot, because he is a mask. Rudy and Lise stare in utter shock, their faces frozen in disbelief. Around a campfire, Rudy acknowledges the grim truth they have just learned. He tells Lise it is best they never speak of Schubaltz being a mask. Lise argues that adventurers must form parties to survive dangerous quests. Rudy counters that they do so precisely because they do not want to die. Schubaltz understands their logic. Teaming with him is seen as a deadly risk. He accepts this as a truth of this world, unable to even light a fire. With deft precision, he uses his knife to pry open a single bullet. The gunpowder ignites instantly, shocking Rudy with its impossible speed. Schubaltz assures them not to worry, he has his own skills without magic. Boy silently drops a massive, perfectly prepared bundle of firewood nearby. He tells them to use it, noting it should last until morning. Pewdie then offers Schubaltz a bowl of stew, saying she made too much. The rest of the party gratefully accepts the rabbit soup around the fire. Schubaltz is surprised to recognize this as a pay-it-forward spirit. The kindness one receives, he learns, is meant to be passed on. He muses that such a compassionate spirit exists in this world, too. Lise offers Schubaltz his own steaming bowl of stew as Rudy eats. Schubaltz accepts the meal, his face partially obscured by his hood. He remarks on how delicious it is, and a smiling Lise agrees. Rudy asks about his old world, learning it had no adventurer profession. Schubaltz explains adventurers help others to better understand their world. A wreath of flowers symbolizes their mission, connecting the ring of the living. The party's journey continues across a vast, snow-covered mountain range. Kenger, their leader, gives a decisive, "all right." He divides the party, sending his own group to search from the east. He declares it a race to find the Harbias, with the winner taking all. Rudy is confused by Kenger's final, ominous parting words. Kenger's group departs, leaving Schubaltz's team alone in the snow. Rudy laments their situation, resolving to find the Harbias first. Lise scans the horizon while Schubaltz listens intently to the silent forest. Rudy gestures to his companions, trying to coordinate their search pattern. The three adventurers trudge through the deep snow of the silent woods. Lise suddenly slips and falls with a loud thud, startling the others. Rudy complains they can't find anything, even Schubaltz's sensors are silent. Lise whines that Harbias would never be found in such a cold place. Suddenly, Rudy clutches his arm, crying out that he has been hit. They all look up to see a flare streaking across the winter sky. Lise notes that Pewdie's attack magic is going wild, not hitting anything. Schubaltz wonders if they are engaged with some other, unknown enemy. A bad feeling washes over Rudy, and he urges them to rush to Kenger. The trio breaks into a desperate sprint through the snowy forest. Their faces are filled with alarm as they race towards the danger. They leap over a snowdrift, their movements urgent and frantic. Schubaltz's ear sensor begins to buzz with an incoming, strange signal. He hears a song, realizing with a jolt that it is not Harbias. Rudy spots the source of the chaos, shouting in alarm at what he sees. A massive flock of grotesque Harbia cantatrices fills the sky. Kenger stares in horror, wondering why superior species are present. A sharp beep confirms a massive enemy presence to Schubaltz. His HUD displays a swarm of countless glowing enemy signatures. Kenger curses, realizing the intelligence report was completely wrong. He roars in frustration at the overwhelming number of Harbias. The cantatrices let out a horrifying, magically charged shriek. Kenger realizes with terror that the creatures are using magic. A swirling vortex of magical feathers descends upon the party. The magical storm intensifies, a maelstrom of destructive energy. Lise identifies the powerful wind magic of the Harbia cantatrice. Rudy and Schubaltz look on in horror as their comrades are overwhelmed. Pewdie screams as her magical shield is torn apart by the attack. Kenger roars in helpless fury as his own defenses begin to fail. The entire party is engulfed in the swirling, magical storm. Schubaltz feels a moment of despair, wondering what he can possibly do. Rudy takes command, ordering Lise to cast a defensive spell. Schubaltz is surprised by Rudy's sudden, decisive leadership. Lise unleashes her Aqua Wall spell with a determined cry. A massive barrier of water erupts, blocking the feather storm. Rudy orders Schubaltz to clear the smaller Harbias while he saves Kenger. Schubaltz takes aim with his sniper rifle, ready to provide covering fire. His expression is cold and focused as he sights down the barrel. He pulls the trigger, the powerful rifle recoiling from the shot. A harbia explodes in a spray of blood and feathers mid-flight. He continues to fire, picking off the monsters with deadly precision. The harbias are cut down by the relentless stream of bullets. Kenger stares in stunned disbelief at the F-ranker's awesome power. Lise is equally shocked by his incredible, impossible marksmanship. Rudy laughs, amazed at Schubalt's unbelievable display of skill. He rushes to Kenger's side, asking if the battered veteran is alright. Schubaltz chambers another round, his focus unwavering amidst the chaos. He assesses the situation, knowing their current position is terrible. He realizes they are completely exposed, with no cover in sight. The massive swarm of harbias begins to circle and descend upon them. Kenger screams at Boy to get up, realizing they are being surrounded. He shouts Boy's name again, urging him to retreat with them. Boy refuses, declaring he will stay behind to cover their escape. A pool of dark blood begins to form around his battered feet. Schubaltz is shocked by the sight of Boy's grievous wounds. He realizes Boy's injuries are far worse than anyone else's. Lise cries out, covering her mouth in horror at the realization. She explains Boy is using a skill to draw all attacks to himself. Boy activates his ultimate skill, Last Wall, facing the horde alone. Schubaltz is incredulous, exclaiming that it's just like a skill from a game. Boy's face is a mask of grim determination as the horde descends. The swarm of harbias completely engulfs him in a violent frenzy. A chaotic montage shows him being brutally torn apart by the monsters. The brutal slaughter continues, his body lost in the chaotic swarm. The swarm converges, leaving only a bloody stain upon the snow. The aftermath is a scene of pure, unadulterated carnage. Kenger, his face twisted with grief and rage, orders the party to fight back. Schubaltz looks on, his expression grim, understanding this world's brutal reality. A question hangs in the bloody air: is this truly an adventurer's battle? Kenger roars in pure fury, calling the monstrous harbias bastards as he charges. His massive broadsword becomes a whirlwind of steel, cutting a path through the swarm. He carves through the grotesque creatures, his blade splattering them with their own black blood. He is a solitary figure of vengeance, lost in a chaotic melee of feathers and rage. Pewdie orders Schubaltz to prepare, declaring their first priority is to retrieve Boy's body. Schubaltz's gloved fingers move with practiced ease, chambering a new round into his rifle. He calmly acknowledges the order, his weapon now ready for the grim task ahead. The monstrous Harbia Cantatrices let out a unified, piercing shriek of magical power. Kenger bellows a warning for everyone to scatter as the magical attack descends upon them. Schubaltz reacts instantly, tackling Rudy and shoving him to the safety of the snow. With a quick, focused glance, he tracks his next target amidst the chaos. The sharp crack of his rifle echoes as he fires from a low, stable crouch. A harbia shrieks in shock as its companion is suddenly blown out of the sky. The lead Cantatrice's face contorts into a mask of pure, unadulterated rage. Another perfect headshot finds its mark, vaporizing the monster's head in a spray of gore. A Cantatrice watches in horror as another of its powerful kin falls from the sky. Schubaltz's next shot lands, graphically obliterating another harbia's head in an explosion. He works the bolt of his rifle, preparing for the next shot with deadly efficiency. Pewdie, her expression grim, prepares to unleash her own powerful magic upon the swarm. She unleashes the ray line, a brilliant beam of pure light from her staff. The beam of light cuts a devastating swath through the shrieking harbia horde. The surviving Cantatrices let out another enraged, coordinated shriek, their forms swelling with power. A close-up shows their skin cracking and contorting as they transform into superior forms. Their true, monstrous faces are revealed, shrieking with newfound power and hatred. Schubaltz recognizes their transformation, identifying them as a superior species. He declares with grim certainty that he chose his Type 99 rifle for this exact moment. He raises the rifle, explaining its function, an anti-aircraft deviation shooting system. His fingers expertly adjust the complex sight, calculating the necessary firing angle. He aims high into the empty sky, his mind predicting the enemy's flight path. He fires, declaring it a perfect lead shot, aimed at where the monster will be. The bullet finds its mark, tearing through the Cantatrice's wing and sending it spiraling. The creature shrieks in agony as it plummets towards the snow-covered ground below. Schubaltz grits his teeth in frustration, cursing that the shot was too shallow. Kenger roars, unleashing his Gale Blade skill, his sword wreathed in wind. He charges forward, his powerful sword technique closing the distance in an instant. Schubaltz watches the incredible display of power, wondering if that too is a skill. Landing atop the monster, Kenger praises the newbie and orders him to shoot down the rest. He brings his blade down, crushing the monster's head in a final, brutal blow. The monster's lifeless body crashes to the ground, its threat finally extinguished. Kenger stands over the spot where Boy fell, his face etched with profound grief. He grips his sword tightly, his knuckles white with the force of his sorrow. He sheathes his sword, whispering a quiet, heartfelt apology to his fallen comrade. Kneeling in the snow, he cuts a lock of Boy's hair, taking it as a memento. The last Cantatrice dives, shrieking, its talons aimed at the vulnerable, grieving Kenger. Rudy screams a warning to Kenger, telling him the attack is coming from above. Kenger looks up, his face a mask of shock and disbelief at the sudden assault. Schubaltz's bullet strikes the diving monster in the head, saving Kenger's life. Schubaltz lets out a quiet breath of relief, lowering his rifle for a moment. His focus is absolute, his eyes scanning the battlefield for the next imminent threat. The remaining swarm of smaller Harbias descends, their numbers seemingly endless. Schubaltz curses in frustration, realizing there is no end to the enemy horde. The party rallies, Lise and Pewdie unleashing their Aqua Ball and Ray Line spells. The combined magical assault tears through the swarm, clearing a path in the chaos. Schubaltz ejects the spent clip from his rifle, preparing to reload for the next wave. A confident, "all right," escapes his lips as he readies his weapon for more action. His HUD suddenly flashes with a blaring, high-level, emergency warning. His eyes widen in shock and confusion at the unprecedented, critical alert. He clutches his head, questioning the sudden, piercing alarm sound that fills his mind. He notes that not even fighter jets in VMB ever triggered such a dire warning. His face pales with a dawning dread as he realizes something new is coming. A colossal, dark shape slams into the ground, sending snow and debris flying. A wave of black, razor-sharp feathers erupts from the point of impact. The shockwave of its arrival blasts across the battlefield with incredible force. Schubaltz and Rudy are thrown to the ground by the powerful concussive blast. The new creature reveals itself, a massive, black bird of prey with razor-sharp wings. It lets out a piercing shriek, its presence silencing the entire Harbia swarm. Its sheer power is enough to tear through the lesser monsters around it. Schubaltz looks up in stunned disbelief, wondering what this new monster could possibly be. Lise identifies it with terror in her voice, the Occupite, ruler of the skies. Kenger screams for a retreat, knowing they can't survive if it targets them. He curses, wondering why it has come to prey upon the Harbia swarm. The Occupite takes to the sky, its massive wings blotting out the light. It unleashes a torrent of obsidian feathers that streak towards the ground like missiles. Lise screams that they are being targeted and begs the others to run for their lives. She identifies the attack as a feather bomb, meant to pin them down. The feathers slam into the snow, erupting into a massive, impenetrable wall of ice. Schubaltz curses, comparing the magical attack to a machine gun suppressing fire. With their escape route cut off, Pewdie turns to face the descending monster. The Occupite dives, its massive talons extended, ready to strike its trapped prey. Lise screams Pewdie's name as the archer is caught in the monster's path. Kenger roars her name, his hand outstretched in a futile gesture of protection. The Occupite ascends rapidly, carrying the helpless archer into the winter sky. Schubaltz curses, his rifle aimed, but he knows he cannot take the shot. His eye is filled with a look of helpless despair and mounting horror. He watches as the monster carries Pewdie higher and higher into the sky. The Occupite's talons grip Pewdie tightly as it reaches its desired altitude. He knows he could hit its leg, but from this height, the fall would be fatal. He screams in frustration, wondering what he can possibly do in this impossible situation. The Occupite opens its talons, dropping Pewdie from a fatal height into the abyss. She impacts the ground in a brutal, final explosion of blood and snow. The remnants of her body are scattered across the desolate, snow-covered wasteland. Schubaltz can only stare in stunned, horrified silence, his face a mask of disbelief. Kenger and Rudy's faces are twisted with a grief and terror too profound for words. Lisa's face is a portrait of pure, unadulterated despair, tears streaming down her cheeks. Schubaltz, his face a mask of anguish, realizes the brutal truth: this is not a game. The party faces the endless swarm, overwhelmed by unexpected numbers and mismatched levels. They know that no matter how unreasonable the odds, they must face them or die. A single word hangs in the air, a precursor to the impossible, however. Even if the power they face is far greater than their own, they must fight. Consumed by grief and rage, Kenger roars that he will kill the monster. He kneels in the snow, his spirit momentarily broken by the loss. His hand clenches into a fist, a new, desperate resolve taking hold. He rises, seizing Boy's massive tower shield, ready for a final stand. Rudy watches in confusion, asking what Kenger plans to do with the shield. Kenger's face is a mask of grim determination, his purpose now clear. He shoves his sword into the shield, causing it to erupt with light. Rudy cries out in astonishment, recognizing the legendary light magic sword. The party watches as Kenger wields the glowing, magically combined weapon. Lise explains it's a powerful, close-quarters specialized magic sword. She warns, however, that it cannot directly strike a flying opponent like the Occupite. Schubaltz declares he will go, sprinting forward as Lise calls out his name. He knows they cannot possibly outrun the creature's incredible speed. He understands that if they don't go on the offensive now, they will all die. He kneels behind Kenger, using the veteran adventurer as a moving shield. Kenger looks back, asking the newbie just what he thinks he is doing. Schubaltz insists Kenger can't do it alone and offers his covering fire. A sharp, manic laugh escapes Kenger as he grasps the insane plan. He promises to create an opening, even if it's just for an instant. He roars a vow to stop the monster's movements for Schubaltz. The Occupite dives from the sky like a black meteor of vengeance. Kenger braces the massive shield, digging it into the snowy ground. "It's coming," he bellows, his eyes fixed on the descending monster. Schubaltz takes aim, knowing his only shot is the moment the beast hovers. The Occupite unleashes a devastating blast of pure, dark energy. Kenger grunts in pain as the impact hits. Schubaltz shouts his name. The veteran screams at Schubaltz to stay quiet and just aim. The magical energy explodes against the shield in a massive shockwave. The Occupite continues its dive, unfazed by the magical aftershock. Its massive, razor-sharp talons are poised to tear them apart. Kenger holds his ground, enduring the relentless assault on his shield. This is it. Schubaltz thinks, seeing his one and only chance. His rifle cracks once, the single shot aimed with impossible precision. The bullet finds its mark, striking the Occupite directly in its eye. The monster lets out a piercing, gurgling shriek of pure agony. Kenger seizes the opportunity, roaring as he prepares to counterattack. He leaps forward, his light magic sword cleaving deep into the monster's neck. The beast's head is savaged by the glowing blade's powerful magic. It thrashes wildly, shrieking in pain from the devastating wound. The siblings, Rudy and Lise, unleash a coordinated magical assault. Their Aqua Ball and Aqua Lance spells slam into the wounded beast. Schubaltz notes with grim satisfaction that their attacks are working. Kenger, his sword still embedded in the monster, prepares to end it. He roars at the newbie, telling him it is time to finish this. He screams that if they don't kill it now, others will surely become victims. He charges forward, cursing the damn bird as he closes the distance. He raises his sword high, yelling that this is the final blow. The Occupite's maw gapes open, a ball of dark energy forming within. Kenger and Schubaltz can only stare in horror at the point-blank attack. Crap! Schubaltz thinks, realizing their fatal miscalculation. The dark energy erupts from the monster's throat in a massive blast. Kenger is engulfed completely by the devastating wave of destructive power. His face is a mask of pure shock in his final, terrifying moment. Schubaltz's vision dissolves into a maelstrom of digital data and warnings. A system alert flashes, maximum assist, his power suit's emergency protocol. His boots are thrown from the ground as the system takes over his body. He is propelled backwards, away from the epicenter of the fatal blast. A single, smoking piece of Kenger's armor is all that remains. The aftershock of the explosion tears across the snowy battlefield. Rudy and Lise can only watch the aftermath, their faces etched with horror. Kenger is gone, completely vaporized by the monster's final attack. Lise lets out a sharp gasp of disbelief and utter shock. The single piece of armor tumbles through the air, a final memento. Schubaltz crashes hard into the snow, his body battered and broken. He is thrown a great distance by the suit's emergency ejection. He lies half buried in the snow, his face a mask of agony. The Occupite, wounded but victorious, lets out a triumphant shriek. It turns its attention to the fallen Schubaltz, preparing to finish him. He pushes himself up, whispering how easily it all happened. He questions how easily people, how easily adventurers, can die. He rises to his feet, his cloak in tatters, his rifle still in hand. He knows that if Kenger hadn't been in front, he would be dead. Rudy and Lise rush towards him, asking if he is alright. Rudy pleads with him, saying this is their best chance to escape. Schubaltz, his back to them, simply says no. He remembers Kenger's final words, his last, desperate command. He tells them if they don't finish it here, someone else will suffer. He recalls the spirit of paying it forward his comrades showed him. He vows to use the life that was saved to save someone else. He orders the siblings to retreat, to ensure the monster's focus is on him. He raises his rifle, declaring he will meet the creature head-on. He knows that the target cannot be him alone. He stands as a solitary figure, facing the diving monster. He screams a challenge at the approaching ruler of the skies. The Occupite plummets towards him, a black speck against the clouds. Its monstrous form grows larger, filling his entire vision. It unleashes a storm of razor-sharp feathers as it descends upon him. He opens fire, his bullets streaking through the magical barrage. He realizes with frustration that he can't seem to land a hit. He screams that he will turn it to mincemeat so he won't have to listen to it. He fires again and again, his shots going wide of their mark. The Occupite continues its dive, its speed almost impossible to track. He understands the problem: the wind pressure is bending the bullet's trajectory. He screams at himself to calculate the deviation, the wind, the speed. With a final, desperate roar, he screams for the bullet to hit. He takes aim not at the monster, but at the empty sky ahead. The bullet spirals through the air, finding its mark in the creature's eye. With a final, desperate roar, he screams for the bullet to hit. He takes aim not at the monster, but at the empty sky ahead. The bullet spirals through the air, finding its mark in the creature's eye. The massive Occupite is struck, its obsidian body exploding in a spray of blood. With a piercing shriek of pure agony, the great beast recoils from the blow. Watching from the snow below, Lise and Rudy cry out in triumph, "He did it." Schubaltz lets out a sharp, focused breath, his concentration absolute in the heat of battle. The wounded Occupite, though grievously injured, crashes heavily into the snow, still alive. It rises, its monstrous maw gaping open to charge another devastating breath attack. Schubaltz curses, realizing his shot missed the brain, even after piercing the eye. He knows with grim certainty that the attack's area of effect is too wide to dodge. His jaw tightens. Behind him, Rudy and Lise are completely exposed and trapped. In a desperate move, he kneels in the snow, reaching for a new tool. His eyes narrow in concentration as he makes a final, desperate choice. His gloved hand hovers over a holographic interface, ready to summon his ultimate trump card. His VMB shop interface materializes, a complex web of data and weapon options. His finger moves with practiced speed, selecting a new, powerful weapon from the digital arsenal. The system confirms, "Weapons ready," as he grabs the newly materialized weapon. He looks up, surrounded by the swirling, digital architecture of the VMB shop. A massive rocket launcher materializes, designated as a Type 91 portable surface-to-air missile. He hefts the massive weapon, its considerable weight settling onto his bruised shoulder. He braces himself, the rocket launcher dwarfing his battered, tattered human frame. He takes aim, his face a mask of grim, desperate determination against the falling snow. The Occupite's breath attack begins to coalesce into a blinding ball of dark energy. The launcher's advanced targeting system acquires its target, confirming a lock-on. With a final, defiant cry, he screams that this is the end. The rocket fires, streaking across the snowy battlefield toward its monstrous target. The rocket impacts the Occupite's head in a blinding flash of cataclysmic light. The explosion rips through the creature, a massive wave of concussive force. The Occupite's head is completely annihilated in a gruesome, explosive display of gore. Rudy and Lise are thrown back, Rudy screaming about his incredible, unbelievable skill. Lise exclaims that not even multiple A-rank mages could deal such devastating damage. They can only watch in awe as Schubaltz stands alone in the blast's aftermath. He walks forward through the settling snow, the massive weapon still held at the ready. He lowers the launcher, its purpose served, the battle finally, truly over. Rudy and Lise rush towards him, cheering that he did it, that he won. Schubaltz stands amidst the wreckage, his expression grim and utterly weary. His HUD confirms, clear, no enemies remaining, noting the other Harbias have fled. Suddenly, his strength gives out, and Schubaltz collapses to his knees in the snow. The siblings rush to his side, shouting his name, asking if he is all right. He looks at his own trembling hand, whispering his own name in disbelief. He realizes if he'd used the Type 91 sooner, Kenger and the others wouldn't have died. He curses his hesitation, his foolish attempt to conserve his precious CP. Lise and Rudy grab him, trying to offer comfort and support in his anguish. Rudy tells him they survived because of him, and that he is grateful. Schubaltz clenches his fist, the word, but heavy with unspoken regret and guilt. He pushes them away, saying they survived and must now report to the guild. He knows the Harbias will soon return to the battlefield to feast on the dead. He says they must collect Kenger's remains before they can leave this place. He tells them to stand, that this is the grim duty of an adventurer. He agrees with a quiet, weary sigh, his face etched with utter exhaustion. He walks away from them, a solitary figure against the vast, empty snowfield. He stands before two makeshift graves, having buried the remains of Boy and Kenger. He reflects that Puty's body was never found, leaving not even a trace behind. He is consumed by guilt, wondering if he could have done more for them. He looks out at the massive, skeletal remains of the Occupite, a silent testament. Lise approaches, noting the Okupete's feathers and claws are incredibly valuable. She admits they are too tough to harvest without specialized, magical tools. Rudy takes charge, telling Lise to pack what she can in her pouch. Lise protests, saying the hide is far too tough for any human to cut. Shubaltz clenches his gloved fist, his resolve hardening in the cold air. He uses the bayonet of his rifle to saw through the creature's tough hide. Lise watches in stunned silence, exclaiming in disbelief at his impossible strength. She tries to lift a severed piece, crying out at how incredibly heavy it is. She turns to her brother, exclaiming how amazing Shubaltz is. Shubaltz turns, his face serious, and addresses Rudy directly by name. He wants to sell the materials to raise money for the fallen comrades' families. He asks Rudy to help him, a quiet, direct request for assistance. Rudy, his eyes wide with a newfound respect, snaps to attention with a "Yes, sir." He agrees enthusiastically, declaring that he will gladly help with the task. They arrive at a fortified outpost, nestled in the snow-covered mountains. Rudy approaches Shubaltz, calling his name and holding something out to him. He hands him a leather tool bag containing all the Okupete materials. He remembers that Shubaltz, as a mask, cannot use magic to open it. He tells him to find a trusted magic user to unseal the bag for him. Rudy remarks on Shubaltz's unusual nature and Kangur's surprising generosity. Shubaltz simply asks if he really thinks so, still unsure of himself. Rudy says that if not for him, they might not have become adventurers. Shubaltz looks on, confused by the strange, unexpected statement. Rudy explains that they once lived in a peaceful village north of the capital. A flashback shows their village being attacked by a monstrous, demonic beast. He and Lise were the only family members who survived the horrific attack. They became adventurers out of sheer necessity, just to survive day to day. He doesn't want Kangur's family to suffer the same tragic fate as his own. He makes Shubaltz promise to deliver Kangur's mementos to his family. Shubaltz accepts the solemn duty, telling him to leave it to him. He waves goodbye as the siblings depart, wishing them well on their journey. Alone, he reflects that in this world, he can only fight with his VMB powers. He knows the grim reality of this world forces his hand to survive. He knows that he does not regret the choices he has made to live. He walks on, his purpose now clear, his resolve unshakable. A title card declares this mission made him realize he was truly alive. In a lavish room, Remy asks Azuri about the name, Powder, from Shubaltz's card. Azuri reports that she checked with the royal heraldry officer about the Powder family. She concludes that no noble house with that name exists in the kingdom's history. Remy muses that he is not an exiled noble from the powerful Northern Empire. She finds it strange he has a royal bloodline skill but is a magic-less mask. She declares that with such contradictions, they cannot simply leave him be. Remy gives Azuri a new, long-term assignment: continue to observe Shubaltz. Azuri accepts the mission with a quiet, determined yes, her face serious. Remy notes that his guild requests will be difficult for a mask to handle. Azuri suggests she could help him, both assisting and observing him simultaneously. She protests that as an investigator in training, she can't take on adventurer requests. In the swaying carriage, Remy smiles softly, suggesting they travel together. Shubaltz sits opposite her, his face a mask of silent contemplation. He stands before the chaotic entrance of the Balga Adventurers Guild. The flamboyant guild master gives him a grand, welcoming greeting. Shubaltz presents his guild card and the proof of his recent subjugation. He reveals a massive pile of the Okupete's razor-sharp obsidian feathers. He hopes this is enough to finally achieve the coveted D rank. If not, he considers using the contents of another, smaller pouch. The guild master congratulates him, stunning the other adventurers into silence. He announces that Shubaltz has finally reached the required number of points. Shubaltz is shocked to learn he must now pass a promotion exam. Outside, he mutters in disbelief about needing an exam just for D rank. He realizes his situation is dire if he can't replenish his CP soon. He arrives at the Malta company, greeted warmly by the merchant himself. Shubaltz presents a bag, stating he has monster materials to sell. Malta eagerly takes the bag, ready to inspect its valuable contents. The merchant's face contorts in an expression of pure, explosive shock. He stammers, asking if these are truly materials from an Okupete. He hoists a massive wing feather, amazed by its size and quality. With eyes blazing with avarice, Malta declares he will buy everything. Shubaltz surprises him, requesting to be paid entirely in magic stones. Malta agrees, revealing the staggering price, 400,000 ol for the lot. Now incredibly wealthy, Shubaltz walks the city with a new purpose. Accessing his VMB interface, he sees his CP has been greatly restored. He now feels confident using weapons with much higher CP consumption. He accesses his VMB shop, equipping a new, practical set of gear. He selects a new primary weapon, the compact FNP-90 submachine gun. The futuristic weapon materializes in his hands with a digital shimmer. He slots a fresh magazine into a pouch on his new tactical belt. Dressed in his new gear, he throws a clean white cloak over his shoulders. His resolve hardened, he declares he is ready for the exam. He pushes through the crowd, telling himself it's time to get fired up. The elegant elven guild master greets him with a warm, welcoming smile. Shubaltz is momentarily surprised to see the familiar face from Tolga. The elf introduces his examiner for the day, a determined-looking Azuri. Azuri explains she will do her best in her role as his examiner. Shubaltz formally accepts, looking forward to working with her again. Azuri leads him to an ornate carriage, ready to head to the exam site. She leaps onto the carriage, announcing their destination east of Balga. His objective: clear the first basement floor and reach the second. Shubaltz understands it's a test of his combat and survival skills. Azuri clarifies it's more of a practical lesson than a strict test. Inside the carriage, she remembers she has something important for him. She pulls a rolled parchment from her thigh pouch, a map of the labyrinth. Shubaltz unrolls the map, his eyes widening in shock at its contents. He exclaims that the map is little more than a child's crude doodle. Azuri calmly explains that all labyrinth maps are hastily drawn like this. He notes that the scale is completely wrong and the details are useless. She explains that in battle, there's no time for precise cartography. Their carriage travels through a vast, rocky wasteland toward the labyrinth. They arrive at the grand, ancient entrance to the labyrinth of the Fang Beast. Azuri states she won't assist in combat and asks if he is ready. He prepares his P90, attaching a suppressor with a satisfying click. He equips a flashlight and an iron sight, readying the futuristic weapon. With a final, "let's go," he turns to enter the foreboding darkness. The heavy iron gate clangs shut, plunging them into absolute blackness. He leads the way down a rough-hewn stone passage, Azuri following. He activates his flashlight, its beam cutting a sharp path through the gloom. He is momentarily disoriented by the pitch-black, oppressive environment. Entering a cavern, he is surprised to see the floor dotted with lights. Azuri kneels, explaining explorers plant seeds to mark their path. She holds a seed of white light grass, which blooms in the labyrinth. The seed blossoms instantly, and Shubaltz exclaims in amazement. He understands now that the light is a man-made navigation system. His HUD beeps, and his eyes narrow as a warning appears on his display. The system detects enemy shadows approaching from the corridor ahead. He raises his rifle, telling a startled Azuri to get behind him. Azuri, her face filled with concern, tells him to be careful. He sights down his weapon, his expression focused and ready for battle. His P90 is aimed into the darkness, awaiting the unseen threat. A pack of savage, snarling wolves bursts from the shadowy corridor. He fires, and the lead wolf is thrown back by the bullet's impact. From a crouched position, he unleashes a controlled burst of gunfire. Azuri watches in awe, amazed by the incredible power of his skill. The last wolf falls, and he stands, declaring the area clear. He walks down the now empty corridor, his weapon held at low ready. The bodies of the slain wolves lie scattered on the stone floor. The corpses dissolve into motes of light, absorbed by the labyrinth. All that remains are small, crystalline magic stones on the ground. He picks one up, explaining the labyrinth's strange properties of death. He wonders grimly if nothing at all remains when a person dies here. He stares into the darkness, questioning the true nature of the labyrinth. Azuri shows him a wind attribute magic stone she has collected. She explains it's a common type found in the glass wolves. She suggests that the labyrinth might be a suitable environment for him. The narrow corridors make it difficult to dodge his ranged attacks. And since he cannot use a tool bag, he can't carry much material. But here, he only needs to collect the small, valuable magic stones. She asks if he has chosen to become a professional labyrinth explorer. She knows it's a path that can bring a large, steady income. But she warns it's also incredibly dangerous to attempt to go it alone. He states grimly that no one will form a party with a mask like him. His weapon would also endanger any allies in these close quarters. Azuri begins to protest, but he confirms his decision has been made. He will go alone, he never wants to see anyone die again. He turns to her, his resolve firm, and tells her it's time to move on. Azuri agrees, though she notes their exploration has only just begun. Her expression is a mixture of sadness and understanding as they proceed. They continue their journey through the glowing, man-made starfield. Shubaltz walks on, his face set, a painful tightness in his chest. Shubaltz throws out an arm, his voice sharp, telling Azuri to stop. His futuristic HUD flashes a dire warning of approaching enemies. Peeking around the corner, he confirms a massive goblin horde lies in wait. Azuri nervously asks for a plan, and he reveals he has a tool. He presents an M84 flashbang, a device of overwhelming light and sound. Pulling the pin, he warns her to cover her ears and avoid the light. Azuri braces herself, hands pressed tight against her ears, eyes shut. With a calm "alright," Shubaltz prepares to toss the tactical grenade. His hand opens, sending the flashbang sailing toward the unsuspecting horde. The grenade clatters on the stone floor, surrounded by confused goblins. A blinding flash of white light erupts, silently engulfing the chamber. The goblins shriek in agony, clutching their heads in sensory overload. Shubaltz emerges from the corridor, his suppressed P90 aimed and ready. He opens fire, methodically picking off the stunned and blinded goblins. Moving swiftly, he closes in, his weapon clearing a path of death. He uses his rifle as a blunt weapon against the swarming creatures. He moves like a phantom, a whirlwind of violence among the goblins. A point-blank burst sends a goblin reeling, its head exploding from the impact. His magazine clicks empty as the "out of bullets" alert flashes. He ejects the spent magazine, his hand already reaching for a fresh one. A surviving goblin, its eye destroyed, lets out a final, terrified shriek. He executes the last goblin with a final, merciless burst of gunfire. The goblin's head snaps back, its body collapsing from the fatal shots. Standing over the dead, he calmly declares the area has been cleared. He scans the area, confirming no enemy signatures remain on his HUD. Azuri steps out, shocked to see so many defeated in a single attack. She can't believe he annihilated the entire horde in only a few seconds. The bodies dissolve into light, leaving only crystalline magic stones behind. Feeling secure, Azuri offers him a small, confident smile. She believes that with his power, he could easily clear the labyrinth solo. He gives a small, confident smile, acknowledging her correct assessment. Blushing, Azuri quickly adds a warning for him not to get careless. Shubaltz gestures ahead, announcing their objective is now just downstairs. They stand at the top of the stairs leading to the second basement floor. He observes the structure and appearance seem unchanged from the floor above. Azuri confirms he has passed, they must now return to Balga for judgment. A sharp crackle of static in his VMB earpiece signals a new threat. He clutches his head and urgently tells a confused Azuri to be quiet. His enhanced hearing picks up a desperate, distant scream to run for it. He doesn't know which way to go, but tells her to just run. A party of young adventurers flees from a massive, pursuing monster horde. Snapping out of his trance, Azuri asks him what is the matter. He explains another party is being pursued by monsters deeper within. From their voices, he realizes it's a party of children being chased. She looks to him for guidance, asking for his decision on what to do. Her resolve hardening, Azuri declares that they absolutely must help them. Shubaltz acknowledges her decision with a simple, grim "understood." They immediately break into a run, heading toward the unfolding chaos. His tactical display lights up, struggling to count the enemy numbers. He explains this is a monster train, a massive group chase phenomenon. He warns that the children will be swallowed and the monsters may overflow. His HUD confirms the distance to the children is still too great. He grits his teeth, knowing that at this speed, they won't make it. He tells Azuri he will go on ahead to stop the monster train. He instructs her to follow the sounds of battle to catch up to him. Azuri can only let out a shocked gasp at his sudden decision. He leaps across a massive chasm, taking an impossible shortcut. She screams that it's too dangerous, the train will swallow him whole. He flies through the air, a lone figure descending towards the danger. He lands with a ground-shattering impact, ready for the fight. He now stands directly between the horde and the fleeing children. He stands alone, a single warrior facing down a sea of monsters. He knows these monsters are an obstacle that must be cleared for escape. Above all, he knows he cannot allow this horde to reach Azuri. He grips his P90, his determination solidifying for the coming fight. He leaps into battle over a horde of screaming goblins. He stands heroically amidst the rubble, his weapon held at the ready. A close-up shows his determined eyes as he sights down his weapon. He charges into the horde, a whirlwind of motion and deadly force. He smashes a goblin's face with the butt of his submachine gun. Completely surrounded, he fights desperately in the heart of the horde. A powerful kick sends a goblin flying, creating a momentary opening. His HUD confirms the remaining distance to the children is now 200 meters. He bursts through the monster line with incredible, focused speed. He lands just behind the children, a sudden and shocking intervention. He looks on with grim satisfaction, knowing he has made it in time. The terrified children continue to scream for help as they run. He shouts at them to keep running towards their companion just ahead. He orders them to rendezvous with her and get out of the dungeon. The young adventurer thanks him tearfully as he runs past. He drops an M18 smoke grenade to cover the children's escape. The children run through the thick smoke as he provides cover. His eyes glow as he activates his visor's infrared mode. A pack of monstrous wolves charges blindly through the smoke screen. He opens fire, his infrared sight making the wolves easy targets. His HUD highlights the massive number of enemies still hidden in the smoke. He must keep their attention focused on him until everyone is out. He removes his suppressor, deciding he no longer needs to be quiet. He roars a defiant challenge, telling the horde to come at him. The wolves, drawn by the sound, turn and charge directly at him. He grits his teeth, knowing the main body of the train is moments away. He knows he cannot hold back his power like he did last time. He accesses his system interface, ready to do what needs to be done. The TSS navigation starts, removing his overcoat in a flash of light. His power suit forms, its output readjusting for maximum combat efficiency. The transformation completes as he lands, weapon ready for battle. The ground shatters under his feet from the suit's immense power. A massive rack of canisters deploys from the back of his power suit. His HUD identifies the weapon system, a full rack of poison grenades. He grabs multiple grenades, ready to unleash a wave of chemical warfare. Schubaltz hurls a poison grenade into the dark chasm below. The canister sails through the air toward the waiting monster train. It detonates, unleashing a massive, swirling cloud of toxic green gas. He knows in this enclosed space, the poison gas will be highly effective. His face revealed, he confidently dares the true enemy to show itself. A promotional cover shows Schubaltz with his companions, Azuri and Remy. The chapter begins, showing him ready to face the gas-choked goblin horde. He raises his P90, confident that his tactical gambit will succeed. A monstrous, ape-like beast emerges from the gas, roaring in defiance. Schubaltz immediately charges forward, leaping to engage the new threat. He is shocked to realize the poison is ineffective against this larger creature. He shoves a second grenade directly into the beast's gaping mouth. He reasons that if one dose failed, another one is needed. He leaps back as the grenade detonates, searing the monster's insides. The beast's massive arm swipes at him, forcing a desperate dodge. The enraged creature lets out a furious, pained roar, still standing. He activates his counter-barrier shield, or CBS, for emergency defense. He drops his spent magazine, preparing to reload for another assault. With his shield active, he takes aim at the monster's head. He unloads his clip, the bullets peppering the creature's tough hide. His sleek white helmet is splattered with the monster's black blood. He stands victorious amidst the bodies of the incapacitated goblin horde. The smaller goblins writhe on the ground, succumbing to the poison. He looks at the rows of poison grenades on his suit's back. Goblins choke and gasp for air, their faces contorted in agony. The initial explosion filled the entire cavern with the deadly fumes. The creatures scream, foaming at the mouth as the poison takes hold. Schubaltz stands over the fallen, his mission to stop the train complete. His helmet and weapon are spattered with the black blood of his foes. The entire monster horde screams in terror as he attacks them. He opens fire with his P90, mowing down the remaining monsters. He relentlessly clears a path through the suffocating goblin horde. His helmet is once again splattered with blood as he fights on. The cavern floor is now littered with the magic stones of the fallen. His power suit deactivates as he walks toward the labyrinth's exit. His face is weary but determined as he emerges from the darkness. The children he rescued are being sternly scolded by an exasperated Azuri. Schubaltz interrupts her lecture, calling out to get her attention. Azuri rushes to his side, anxiously asking if he is all right. He reassures her that he is fine, then asks about the children. She explains they are academy students who got lost during a training exercise. Schubaltz looks at the young, frightened adventurers with understanding. He gently tells the children he is just glad they didn't die. One of the young adventurers is overcome, struggling to hold back tears. The children thank him profusely for saving them from a certain death. He reflects on the labyrinth's nature, it absorbs the souls of the dead. He wonders what happens to the souls of the countless monsters he killed. Azuri tells him it's time to leave, as their examination is now over. He looks back, pondering the true, terrifying nature of the labyrinth. He stands alone before the sealed gate, lost in his dark thoughts. The chapter title page shows a vast, desolate landscape, symbolizing their journey. In the carriage, he and Azuri sit in a comfortable, quiet moment. He gets her attention, his expression serious and his mind troubled. Azuri responds with a simple yes, her own expression calm and attentive. He asks her to tell him everything she knows about the labyrinths. She pauses, gathering her thoughts before beginning her solemn explanation. She admits the details are unknown, but she can share the legends. She begins her tale, her voice filled with a quiet, ancient gravity. He learns there are many labyrinths scattered all across the world. She then reveals the horrifying truth: new labyrinths are still being born. Shubaltz is stunned by this revelation, the implications staggering. A new labyrinth lures in surrounding monsters to fuel its initial growth. These absorbed monsters are then used as a core to create new creatures. The monsters evolve within, becoming far stronger than their natural counterparts. This process creates superior species, like the monsters he has already faced. She explains that these powerful creatures do not exist in the natural world. They are the unique, deadly products of the labyrinth's unnatural evolution. He realizes the occupant he fought must mean a new labyrinth is near. Azuri confirms his horrifying suspicion, her own face pale with dread. The stronger the initial monsters, the more powerful the labyrinth becomes. Shubaltz clutches his head, the weight of this new knowledge overwhelming. Azuri explains that the monsters are created endlessly within the labyrinth. Eventually, they will overflow, unleashing their hordes upon the world. He finally understands, this is the reason for the monster train. He looks at Azuri, a new, grim understanding in his eyes. She explains the ultimate goal is to reach the labyrinth's deepest level. There, at the bottom floor, lies the heart of the labyrinth. It is known as the dungeon core, the source of all its power. The goal of any true subjugation is to destroy this core completely. With the core shattered, the labyrinth's malevolent power will be broken. The endless tide of monsters will no longer overflow into the world. The labyrinth becomes a safe, secure mine for valuable resources. He realizes this is the gold rush that Malta spoke of so excitedly. He asks if this means the labyrinth of the Fang Beast is unconquered. Azuri confirms that its depths have not yet been fully cleared. For many years, no adventurer has been able to reach its 25th floor. Shubaltz is intrigued by this new, seemingly impossible challenge. He looks out at the desolate landscape, a new idea forming. He declares that he wants to be the one to conquer the labyrinth. Azuri understands he needs a purpose to keep from despairing. He knows that he needs a goal to strive for in this world. They arrive back in Balga, their journey and the test now complete. They enter the bustling guild hall, ready to report their success. The elven guild master greets them warmly, welcoming them back. Azuri reports that his exploration was flawless and he is fit for D rank. The guild master accepts her recommendation and declares that he has passed. She formally grants him the official qualification of a labyrinth explorer. Shubaltz offers a quiet, grateful, thank you for the opportunity. He knows that with this, his problem of acquiring CP is finally solved. The guild master asks for his card to finalize the new registration. In the guild hall, a burly adventurer hoists Azuri up, congratulating her promotion. Shubaltz asks if his D-rank trial was also Azuri's exam for investigator. Azuri, completely flustered, can only stammer, unable to form a coherent response. Keys explains her original test was a recon mission, which she failed spectacularly. Shubaltz's eyes widen in understanding as he puts all the pieces together. Keys invites them to a celebratory dinner, and Azuri eagerly asks if he's serious. Azuri excitedly says she can't make it tomorrow, but will be free the day after. Shubaltz smiles, confirming their plans for the day after tomorrow. The nearby elf-like guild master teases him, remarking on his successful date proposal. A lone, mule-drawn cart travels a winding path through a vast, forested landscape. Shubaltz sits alone in the back of the simple cart, lost in quiet contemplation. The cart driver waves as Shubaltz approaches the labyrinth of the Fang Beast. Shubaltz presents his new guild card to the two heavily armored guards at the entrance. As he walks past, a guard calls out, advising him not to push himself too hard. The veteran explains that an explorer's most important job is to return alive. Shubaltz looks back, offering a quiet, sincere, thank you for the kind advice. He walks alone down a long, dark corridor, lit only by glowing orbs. He materializes his P90, his hands expertly gripping the sleek, futuristic weapon. He attaches a tactical flashlight to the weapon's rail, ready for the darkness. With a confident smirk, he declares his intent to map out every single floor. A diagram shows his VMB sensor automatically mapping every route he travels. In a VMB flashback, soldiers survey a canyon, emphasizing the importance of map control. A sniper scope view shows how map knowledge creates a constant tactical advantage. Back in the dungeon, he is sure the same rules apply, he must complete his map. A sudden beep from his HUD alerts him, and he pauses, listening intently. He arrives in a small chamber, announcing that he has reached his destination. He looks at the ground, remembering the monster train he defeated here before. He recalls the massive pile of magic stones left by the slain creatures. He gestures toward the glittering mountain of crystals he has gathered in the chamber. He looks over the huge pile of magic stones, admitting it's too much to carry. It's a waste to leave them, but he's glad no other explorers found his stash. He sits on a crate, deciding to convert the stones to CP right now. He places several stones on his interface, thinking he can't let them go to waste. One of the stones makes a distinct clinking sound as the system processes it. He pauses his work, his curiosity piqued by the unusual sound. He picks up a crystal, his HUD identifying it as a rare, elemental magic stone. He tries to convert it, realizing with frustration that elemental stones won't work. He accesses his VMB inventory, looking at the gift box feature for sending items. He tries to place an object in the box, the system beeping in response. A large, pure white, futuristic box materializes with a soft hum before him. He opens it, remembering that the box should only accept VMB native items. He reaches inside, his expression confused as he feels something unexpected within. He looks at the massive pile of stones, thinking there is quite a lot. He decides he'll just have to buy a military rucksack from the VMB shop. As he looks at his interface, a new, unexpected notification catches his eye. He remembers the gift box feature, a new, brilliant idea forming in his mind. A large unknown notification flashes, signaling an unidentified item in the box. He wonders if his system is actually recognizing the foreign object. He decides to rename the item to Magic Stone and register it in the system. He issues a command to summon the newly programmed gift box. The box materializes again, confirming the command was successful. He eagerly reaches inside, wondering if his clever gambit has paid off. He pulls out a perfect magic stone, shouting in pure, unadulterated triumph. He realizes the gift box can store and rename unknown items, calling it amazing. His eyes sparkle with excitement, knowing this will make exploring so much easier. He admits to himself that the process is a bit of a hassle to use. His moment of discovery is shattered as he opens fire on an ambushing monster. A pack of grotesque, pig-like monsters charges, undeterred by his initial volley. He is forced to retreat, the monsters swarming him in the narrow corridor. His eyes widen in alarm as he is overwhelmed by the sudden, ferocious attack. The pig-like monsters leap at him from the walls, their numbers overwhelming. He is knocked off balance, stumbling as he tries to fend off the creatures. The monsters are upon him, their snarling maws filling his entire vision. A top-down view shows him completely surrounded by the swarming creatures. He presses himself against a brick wall, cursing the high monster encounter rate. He fires his P90 down the corridor, desperately trying to clear a path. He turns and runs, the monsters relentlessly pursuing him through the darkness. A terrifying close-up shows the mutated, snarling face of one of the monsters. A title page for the chapter shows a schematic of the VMB power suit. Another schematic explains that high-output movements drain CP, a risky tactic. He grips his P90, his resolve hardening as he says, "All right." He walks down the corridor, determined to continue his mapping mission. A new pack of pig-like monsters appears, letting out a savage shriek. His HUD beeps, and he pauses, his expression becoming serious and alert. A massive, bear-like monster charges him, roaring with pure aggression. He is thrown back against the wall, cursing that he has been cornered. He plants his feet on the corridor wall, preparing for an acrobatic maneuver. He pushes off the wall, leaping over the charging monster in a graceful arc. He shouts in triumph, having broken through the enemy's impossible defense line. He cries out the name of the high-level VMB technique, wall run. He aims his P90 down at the monster as it passes beneath him. The monster stumbles, his initial shots finding their mark in its back. It lets out a final, pained roar as it collapses to the ground. He takes a stable firing stance, preparing to finish the creature off. He lands perfectly on the monster's back, his P90 aimed at its head. He unloads his clip into the creature's skull at point-blank range. The monster collapses, its body dissolving in a swirl of magical light. He lands gracefully, the monster's magic stone clattering to the stone floor. He reflects that while he did wall runs in VMB, he'd never tried it here. He thinks that performing game moves for real is a dangerous, all-or-nothing gamble. He knows that if he fails to execute a move perfectly, he will surely die. He analyzes the fight, noting the bear was fast and a headshot wasn't enough. He realizes monsters may outreact him, so he must aim for the legs first. A sound makes him pause, his VMB earpiece catching something in the distance. He looks down the dark corridor, hearing two sets of heavy footsteps approaching. He kneels, pulling out a claymore mine, declaring that it's a trap. His HUD identifies the M18 claymore, he'll use it to rob the enemy of mobility. He stands and shouts down the corridor, taunting the unseen monsters to come at him. Two more bear-like monsters charge, roaring as they take his bait. He triggers the detonator, the mine ready to explode and greet the new threat. A massive, bear-like monster attacks, its claws tearing through the air. Two of the savage beasts roar, their fanged maws wide with aggression. Shubalt stands firm, raising his P90 to meet the monstrous charge. From his perspective, the air is a swirling vortex of blinding dust. He cries out in frustration, his vision completely obscured by the dust cloud. His HUD activates, switching to infrared mode to track the beasts. With a sharp click, he slams a fresh magazine into his weapon. He opens fire, the P90 spitting bullets down the dark, dusty corridor. The monsters are torn apart by the relentless, accurate stream of gunfire. Their bodies dissolve, leaving behind glowing, crystalline magic stones. As the dust settles, Shubalt walks past the valuable monster remnants. He crouches, noting how quickly the differences from his game are appearing. He picks up a magic stone, thinking to himself that something is strange. He continues to ponder the oddity of the situation in the snowy corridor. He holds the crystal, realizing these are labyrinth-made replicas of monsters. And yet, he reflects with a chill, they felt truly alive. He understands the labyrinth consumes life to create new life in turn. It uses the magic stones as a form of bait for adventurers. He walks down the corridor, wondering if they are the ones being hunted. His HUD pings, displaying a minimap swarming with enemy signatures. He stops, his eye narrowing as he processes the new sensory data. He realizes a massive horde of monsters is gathering towards his position. He curses, knowing the Claymore's blast has drawn them all to him. With a grim look, he accepts that he has no choice but to fight. The long, empty brick corridor waits, echoing with the approaching horde. A massive tide of goblins charges down the hallway, a sea of bodies. Shubalt walks towards them, a lone figure against the overwhelming swarm. He turns his back to the viewer, ready to face the endless onslaught. He walks alone into the darkness, a single warrior against an army. He is on the ground, surrounded by a mountain of spent shell casings. He looks down at his own body, trying to understand this strange feeling. He wonders how much time has passed since the battle began. He asks himself if it has been minutes, or perhaps even hours. A sharp beep sounds as his HUD activates, displaying the time. The system displays a shocking number, 18 hours have passed. He stares in disbelief, realizing he has been fighting for 18 hours straight. He stands amidst a mountain of goblin corpses, a single word on his lips. He realizes that it's not just time he has lost track of. After fighting for so long, he feels absolutely no fatigue in his body. A surviving goblin lunges from the pile, its teeth bared in a snarl. It sinks its crude blade into his arm with a desperate scream. He reacts instantly, shoving the creature away with a powerful blow. His hand is slashed, blood spraying from the deep, ragged wound. He finishes the goblin with a point-blank shot, its head exploding. He looks at his wounded hand, cursing his own momentary carelessness. He watches, his expression a mixture of awe and terror. The blood on his armored glove begins to recede and vanish. The skin knits itself back together, the wound closing before his eyes. In a matter of seconds, his hand is perfectly healed, without a scar. He stares at his hand, whispering that the wound has vanished. His eye widens as a profound, unsettling realization takes root. He looks around at the carnage, his mind reeling from the discovery. He understands this body, this form that does not know fatigue. And he understands this incredible, supernatural healing ability as well. He whispers to himself that he knows this, he knows it all too well. His eye narrows as the horrifying truth crashes down upon him. He sits amidst the dead, whispering that this is a game's body. A flashback begins, showing the sleek, biomechanical creatures of VMB. The narration explains the game spans many worlds and many eras. It is a VR game that lets players experience countless battlefields. A player in a high-tech power suit prepares for battle. On this battlefield, players fight on, endlessly and relentlessly. A dynamic montage shows the start of a VMB match. A player leaps into action, their movements fluid and superhuman. The battlefield erupts in a shower of debris and explosions. Even if they are hit by a hail of bullets. Their limbs are never blown off, their bodies remaining intact. As long as they are not killed outright, their damage will recover over time, their bodies healing. The VMB avatar will never stop moving due to fatigue. There are no parameters like a stamina gauge to restrict movement. The avatar will run as the player wishes and continue to jump. It can navigate acrobatic group battles and endure countless gunshots. Back in the labyrinth, his hand is fully restored. He realizes with a curse that this is exactly like the VMB specs. He collapses to his knees, screaming, asking what is happening. He wonders if, in this other world, he is no different. He looks at the grotesque form of a dead labyrinth monster. He asks himself if he is the same as these creatures. A body made by the game versus a body made by the labyrinth. He stares into the darkness, his eyes wide with terror, asking what the difference is. If his VMB avatar's body is moving, then what has become of his real body in his original world? He screams the question, his face contorted in anguish and fear. A new monster's arrival is heralded by dissolving corpses. He walks through the carnage, his mind now clear. His face is a mask of grim, hard-won resolve. He is in this labyrinth now, and he must fight. He has chosen to live in this world, so he must use this body. The ground shatters under the weight of a monstrous attack. He knows he must use this body to its absolute fullest. His HUD beeps, signaling the approach of a new, powerful enemy. The massive, ape-like beast from before appears, its maw gaping. Its single, glowing eye fixes on him, a beacon of malevolence. It lets out a deafening, guttural roar that shakes the very walls. But Shubaltz is unfazed, his own resolve now unshakable. He knows that he can feel pain in this body. He feels hunger, and at night, he feels the need to sleep. Therefore, he is, most probably, alive. Beneath a vast, empty sky, Shubaltz looks up, his face gaunt and hollow as he admits to himself, "I'm tired." Riding in a simple cart towards Balga, he clarifies the feeling, it is his heart that is truly weary. A violent, chaotic memory of shattered rock and debris explodes through his mind. The horse-drawn cart continues its slow, plodding journey across the desolate landscape. The driver guides the horse onward, while Shubaltz sits silently in the back. He looks down, lost in a silent, troubled contemplation of his own existence. Clutching a VMB nutrient paste, he desperately denies the unreality of his situation. Amidst the mental chaos, a terrifying realization dawns, he is undeniably alive. The horror of this truth erupts from him in a raw, primal scream of anguish. He finally arrives in the bustling city of Balga, a stark contrast to his inner turmoil. The full, crushing weight of his 18-hour ordeal finally hits him. He collapses onto his bed, resolving to think about his situation differently. He concludes this artificial body is actually convenient for surviving in this world. The heroes of the story, Shubaltz, Azuri, and Remy, pose for a dynamic cover image. Waking the next morning, he looks out his window and remembers his dinner with Azuri. He feels it would be rude to meet her while he is so visibly distressed. He summons his VMB interface, his mind focused on a new, productive task. His finger hovers over the holographic display, preparing to make a selection. He falls back into a deep, exhausted sleep, his body finally giving in. A holographic clock beeps insistently, its digital face showing the time is 10:25 a.m. He groans, slowly and reluctantly waking from his much-needed rest. He sits up on the edge of the bed, clutching his pounding head in exhaustion. His eyes harden with a newfound resolve to pull himself together and be productive. At the Malta company, he cheerfully asks the merchant for some labyrinth tools. Malta smiles, saying it will take a moment to gather the requested goods. The kind merchant offers him some tea while he waits for the items. An elegant, floral-patterned tea set is presented, a small luxury in a harsh world. Shubaltz stands before the grand, palatial headquarters of the Malta company. He greets Malta, who warmly welcomes him into the opulent establishment. Malta smiles, asking what business brings the young adventurer here today. Shubaltz summons his VMB interface, needing to clear his head and focus. He examines the complex data on the holographic screen, his mind at work. He thinks of his gift box, realizing it makes carrying items incredibly easy. He knows he still has plenty of time before his appointment with Azuri. He considers if he should prepare some new gear for future labyrinth expeditions. He takes a sip of tea, a rare moment of peace and quiet contentment. He notes the tea tastes nostalgically similar to a blend from his old world. With a genuine smile, he compliments the tea's strong, pleasant aroma. Malta laughs, pleased, saying Shubaltz is one of the few who appreciate it. The merchant returns, explaining he has a rather rare item for him today. He presents a water skin that, incredibly, requires no magic to use. Malta explains a magic stone inside automatically replenishes the water supply. Shubaltz is thrilled that even a mask like him can use this item. Malta shows off other oddities, but Shubaltz says the water skin is enough. He worries that buying more will leave him with no money for his dinner date. Instead, he asks if Malta would be willing to buy his magic stones. He presses the TSS button on his arm, preparing to activate his unique skill. A sleek, futuristic gift box materializes from thin air, shocking Malta. The merchant bellows, asking what this object is that just appeared from nowhere. He demands to know how it could have possibly materialized out of thin air. Shubaltz calmly summons a massive, glittering pile of magic stones from the box. Malta is left utterly speechless, staring at the mountain of valuable crystals. The merchant is amazed, stammering that Shubaltz is full of surprises. His curiosity piqued, Malta asks just how much the incredible box can hold. Shubaltz cheerfully explains it holds vast quantities, ignoring item size completely. Malta is utterly flabbergasted by this impossible, reality-defying technology. He leans over the box, still struggling to comprehend its immense capacity. Shubaltz adds that, on top of everything else, its weight is irrelevant. Malta realizes it can also disappear, making it perfect for secure transport. Shubaltz notes this would solve many anti-theft and transport problems. Malta's eyes light up, eagerly asking to partner with him for transport. Shubaltz agrees, saying he will help if the opportunity ever arises. Malta stares at the gift box, his mind racing with commercial possibilities. His face reveals the intense, calculating mind of a true master merchant. Shubaltz notes to himself that the merchant is staring at him very intently. With his funds secured, a new chapter of his adventure begins. Shubaltz gets Malta's attention, ready to ask him another important question. He asks the well-traveled merchant if there are any good restaurants nearby. Malta slyly strokes his chin, asking if he will be dining with a woman. He understands immediately, a knowing look on his face. He hands Shubaltz an ornate, beautifully crafted card with a recommendation. Malta says it's a great place he and his wife frequent often. Shubaltz thanks him and departs, as Malta wishes him the best of luck. The bustling streets of the capital are filled with people and horse-drawn carriages. A grand, ornate clock tower chimes, its bells echoing throughout the city. Shubaltz leans against a pillar, noting the sound of the 6 o'clock bell. He observes the crowd growing thicker as the city's workday comes to an end. Azuri arrives, having changed into a lovely dress, and apologizes for being late. Shubaltz reassures her that he wasn't waiting long, suggesting they get going. Azuri worries that the nearby restaurants will be crowded at this time. He tells her not to worry, as the place he has in mind is a short walk. He explains it's a nice place where they can relax and enjoy themselves. Azuri smiles, her eyes sparkling as she says she is looking forward to it. They walk up a street toward a grander, more opulent district of the city. They arrive before a massive, domed building of incredible scale and beauty. Shubaltz stops dead in his tracks, stunned into silence by the restaurant's opulence. Azuri excitedly identifies it as Sanut, a famous high-class restaurant in Balga. Shubaltz is horrified, a shadow falling over his face as he understands. With a mischievous grin, Azuri compliments him on managing to get a reservation. The full, terrible, and expensive truth of the situation dawns on him. He collapses to his knees in comical despair, wailing that he has done it now. He panics, realizing this is a reservation-only place he surely can't afford. Azuri is completely confused by his sudden and dramatic breakdown. A maitre d' approaches, confirming a reservation from the Mariida company. The man welcomes them warmly, gesturing for them to follow him inside. Shubaltz and Azuri can only stare, stunned into silence by this turn of events. They are led down a long, grand hallway lined with beautiful statues. Azuri asks if he is an acquaintance of Malta from the Mariida company. He explains coolly that they have a personal business arrangement. Azuri is utterly shocked to hear he's dealing with the great guild master. Shubaltz, recalling the affable merchant, explains he only knew Malta as a simple, chubby, smiling man. Azuri looks utterly shocked, realizing he is talking about the chairman of the powerful Malta company. She explains the Maria company is a top guild, named after the chairman's beloved wife. Shubaltz is flustered, having mistaken the powerful merchant for a simple middle manager traveling alone. A distinguished maitre d' greets them politely, gesturing for them to follow him to their table. From their high vantage point, Shubaltz and Azuri take in the breathtaking panorama of the city. Azuri gasps in delight as the maitre d' welcomes them to the restaurant's special seating area. The host leads them up a set of stairs to a private balcony with a magnificent view. Shubaltz rests his gloved hand on the back of a wooden chair, a quiet, contemplative moment. He gallantly pulls out the chair for Azuri, who thanks him with a warm, appreciative smile. Looking over the menu, Azuri points out the fish dishes, and Shubaltz asks if she enjoys them. Her face lights up with a happy memory as she explains she grew up in a seaside town. She notes that fish is a luxury here, so Shubaltz decides that is what they will order. The maitre d' bows with a professional smile, confirming he has taken their order. Azuri lets out a soft laugh, her eyes sparkling as she says she is looking forward to it. Shubaltz agrees, remarking that after a diet of rations, it's been too long since a proper meal. Azuri makes a small fist, emphasizing that food is vital for replenishing an adventurer's energy. His expression darkens as he remembers his last mission, where fighting without food was a terrible ordeal. Azuri suggests that at least the safety of being in a party must have made things easier. Schubaltz looks down, his silhouette framed against the city as a somber mood falls over him. His eyes widen with a haunted memory as he reveals that half of his party died. Azuri is stunned into silence, her mind struggling to process his grim and sudden confession. As a waiter pours their drinks, the heavy weight of Schubaltz's words hangs in the air. Their beautifully prepared main courses, a steak and a clam pasta, are served before them. Schubaltz stares into the distance, explaining that this is the grim reality of adventurers he has witnessed. A flashback shows his former party trudging through a blizzard, guided only by scant information. The memory shows them in a desperate, life-or-death battle against a swarm of monstrous creatures. The flashback depicts the chaos of battle, showing comrades sacrificing their lives to save others. He remembers them as protectors, a shield against the evil that threatens the people of this world. Azuri looks at him with sympathy, telling him he met some truly good adventurers. Schubaltz looks away from her, stating that their sacrifice has now become his guiding compass. He looks up, a new thought occurring to him as he prepares to change the subject. He asks Azuri why she decided to become a guild investigator in the first place. She answers with a sad smile, explaining that it was simply a matter of family business. She closes her eyes, admitting that at first, she couldn't find any real meaning in her work. A flashback shows a younger Azuri working diligently as a guild receptionist, her former job. Schubaltz playfully imagines that with her at the counter, the line must have been very long. Azuri blushes brightly, feigning embarrassment at his compliment about her popularity. She laughs it off as a joke, and Schubaltz gives a weak, distracted chuckle in return. She recalls her duties, studying monster lore and geography to assist adventurers on their journeys. Her expression becomes serious as she explains that as she continued her work, something changed. She remembers sending off countless parties of hopeful, boisterous adventurers on their quests. But gradually, she saw that fewer and fewer of those adventurers ever returned from their journeys. Her face hardens as she explains that one of the main reasons for these losses was insufficient investigation. She describes investigators poring over maps, analyzing information to predict the dangers that lie ahead. Sometimes, investigators must go to the field themselves to scout the area before the main party arrives. They face incredible dangers to determine just how perilous a mission will be for others. Schubaltz listens intently, understanding the gravity of her work and the risks she took for others. She explains her mission was to ensure the safety of a party, not just to aid them. Schubaltz asks her to clarify what she means by her statement, sensing a deeper confession. Azuri closes her eyes, a pained expression on her face as she prepares to admit her failure. She admits that yes, her failure is the reason he was drawn into this world of conflict. Schubaltz looks up, his expression unreadable, processing the weight of her devastating confession. Speaking now as a guild investigator, she tells him she must offer him a piece of advice. She says he reminds her of the many adventurers who never returned from their quests. Her eyes are filled with genuine concern as she warns that if he continues alone, he might not return. She tells him with absolute conviction that for this reason, he must find companions. Schubaltz looks up from his plate, surprised by the intensity and sincerity of her plea. He looks down, reminding her that he is a mask, someone without magic in this world. He places his hand on the table, adding that he is also an anomaly, something different. A flashback shows VMB soldiers, their bodies enhanced with monstrous regenerative abilities and futuristic weapons. He clenches his fist, admitting that he doesn't even know if he's still truly human. He bows his head, his voice low as he accepts his own alien nature in this world. He stares out at the city, concluding that he is a foreign object, an outsider. Azuri looks at him, her eyes filled with a deep, empathetic sadness for his plight. She asks him where he came from, what kind of life he has lived before this. She wants to know what kind of time he has spent here, what he has been through. She asks what grim reality he has faced to make him so deeply pessimistic. She insists the people he's met in Balga won't abandon him, no matter how special he is. She tells him that as an adventurer and an explorer, he should understand this truth. A powerful montage of faces appears, the people who have accepted him, from Remy to Rudy. Remy's face appears, her expression one of grudging respect, acknowledging his impressive skill. Malta's cheerful face is shown, laughing that he is always surprised by Schubaltz's many skills. Rudy and Lise appear, with Rudy admitting he might not have become an adventurer without him. Pewdie's face in the heat of battle, shouting for Schubaltz to get ready for their next move. Kenger's enraged face, screaming that he will finish off the newbie himself. The flamboyant guild master from Balga, welcoming Schubaltz-sama to his archives. The elegant elf receptionist, greeting him and informing him that his examiner has arrived. Azuri's smiling face, announcing that she will be the one in charge of his D-rank test. Shubalt's eyes widen as he realizes he had forgotten a fundamental truth about himself. A flashback to VMB shows his teammates, reminding him that companions are needed to reach a goal. The view down a rifle sights illustrates that a single perspective makes the path too narrow. A shot of his team covering each other shows that more perspectives require more companions. He reflects that FPS games are fundamentally about team battles, a core concept he'd forgotten. He remembers celebrating a championship with his team, Powder, a truth he once knew all too well. He leans back in his chair, a sense of peace washing over him as he closes his eyes. With a genuine, heartfelt smile, he thanks Azuri for reminding him of what's truly important. Azuri sits opposite him, her own expression calm and content under the starry night sky. She clasps her hands, asking Shubaltz what he plans to do now that he's an explorer. She asks if he has anything he wants to accomplish, if he has a specific goal in mind. He looks down, confirming he has a goal, to return to his original world. He admits, however, that he has absolutely no idea how to achieve this. A holographic display of his VMB arsenal appears as he considers the meaning of his powers. He clenches his fist, determined to find the meaning behind his strange new body. He looks out at the city, vowing to find the reason he was dropped into this world. Under a vast, starry sky, he declares he will live in this world as an FPS player. A new chapter begins, titled West of Merrill Village, signaling a new incident is unfolding. A lone investigator runs through a dark, misty forest, panting in terror, a torch in hand. The man's face is a mask of fear, his mouth open in a silent, desperate scream. He stumbles to a halt, his body rigid with shock, as he discovers something horrifying. A lone investigator stands before a grisly tableau of slaughtered adventurers. The lifeless, terrified faces of two female warriors stare up from the heap. The man curses, enraged that the damage has already been done. A sudden sound startles him, and he whips around in alarm. His face contorts in shock at a new, unseen horror. His shock gives way to a raw, guttural scream of terror. He stands at the entrance of a massive cave, a charnel house of hanging bodies. In a grand hall, a stern nobleman repeats the dungeon's ominous name. A subordinate confirms it is the Labyrinth of the Green Demon, near Merrill Village. An official notes that so far, only demi-humans have been reported inside. The subordinate continues her report with a grave, serious expression. The nobleman sorrowfully states that the initial reconnaissance team was completely wiped out. The official asks for confirmation, and the subordinate quietly affirms it. She explains this labyrinth is unusually complex, causing the team to get lost. They were likely exhausted by constant monster battles and then overwhelmed. Remy reports that casualties are now occurring around the labyrinth's very entrance. She laments that they have reached their limit in controlling reckless explorers. The nobleman, his decision made, orders his people to assemble a team and map it. He declares that anyone else who tries to rush in will be dealt with. Remy accepts the command with a firm and simple yes. Remy walks across a grand bridge, contemplating the difficult task ahead. She knows they can gather the personnel, but creating a map will be hard. She thinks that a good map is essential, recalling a particular one she saw. She decides that for now, she will put out a request to the guild. In the guild hall, she asks an elf if she knows any good explorers. The elf's face lights up as she exclaims she knows an amazing person. She asks Remy if she has seen the map that person submitted recently. She unrolls a scroll, revealing a map of the Fanged Beast Labyrinth's first floor. Remy slams her hands on the table, exclaiming in shock at what she sees. She marvels at the perfectly straight lines and the uniform scale of the map. She realizes such a map could only be made by someone with a special skill. She grabs the startled elf, demanding an immediate introduction to the cartographer. Shubaltz groans, his head buried in his arms amidst a pile of books. In the Balga archives, he miserably admits that he drank far too much yesterday. He recalls that in his old world, he was never very accustomed to drinking. He remembers Azuri, who drank more than him but seemed completely fine. He flashes back to her happy, giggling expression from the previous night. His head spins, filled with the chaotic, blurry memories of their celebration. He tells himself to focus, knowing his aim will be off today. He decides against fieldwork, opting for the desk work of mapmaking instead. Knowing a good map fetches a high price, he resolves to get to it. He pulls a small, futuristic device from a pouch on his belt. A glowing, holographic map of the labyrinth is projected onto his desk. He carefully places a sheet of blank parchment over the digital projection. With a determined look, he picks up his quill, ready to begin. He declares that all he has to do now is trace over the top. His quill moves with impossible speed and precision across the parchment. He meticulously follows the straight, perfect lines of the holographic map. He leans into the work, his body filled with a focused, determined energy. A hand suddenly claps him on the shoulder, startling him from his work. He looks up to see Remy smiling down at him, greeting him by name. Her eyes are fixed on his work as she says she wants to borrow his skill. They sit at the table as Remy explains the grim situation at Merrill Village. Schubaltz listens intently, repeating the name, Labyrinth of the Green Demon. He understands that if they don't act quickly, the entire village will be lost. Remy explains that this is a national enterprise with substantial rewards. Schubaltz states that his own primary goal is the Labyrinth of the Fang Beast. However, he is intrigued by this new labyrinth and what he might learn. With a look of quiet resolve, he tells her that he understands. "Let's do it," he says, and Remy thanks him enthusiastically for his help. He looks up at her from his chair, telling her that he has conditions. She asks him what they are, and he begins to explain his terms. He insists that his skill be kept secret and his name left off the map. Remy, understanding his hardship as a mask, agrees to his terms. She stands abruptly, announcing they will leave immediately, much to his surprise. He follows her, agreeing that the sooner they go, the better. "That's right," she says, acknowledging his understanding of the stakes. She tells him that in the labyrinth, lives are already being lost daily. Her face hardens as she vows to reduce the number of victims by even one. She formally asks for his help, and he acknowledges her request. As she turns to leave, Schubaltz launches himself out of the archive's window. He lands gracefully on a nearby rooftop, beginning a breathtaking parkour run. He leaps across the rooftops of the city with fluid, superhuman grace. He runs along a high wall, his movements defying the laws of gravity. In midair, he reaches into his VMB inventory for a piece of equipment. He lands perfectly on a steep, tiled roof, his body poised for action. "Weapons ready," he whispers, his eyes focused on the path ahead. A Kawasaki KLX 250 dirt bike materializes from digital light beneath him. The bike lands with a tremendous crash, shattering the rooftop tiles below. He remains perfectly balanced, unfazed by the shower of debris around him. He sits astride the futuristic dirt bike, a modern knight on a metal steed. His foot kicks the gear shifter into place with a sharp, metallic click. His gloved hand squeezes the clutch, ready to unleash the machine's power. He peels out, the bike tearing across the roof with a powerful, alien roar. He becomes a blur, a silver-haired comet racing away from the city. The speedometer climbs past 102 km per hour as he lets out a triumphant battle cry. He roars with exhilaration as he speeds across the open, sun-drenched plains. He decides it is best to take an inconspicuous route to the village. He pops a wheelie, shouting as he veers off the main road. He yells that this is insane as the bike bounces over the rough terrain. He expertly navigates the rocky, uneven ground, his cloak billowing out behind him. A quiet beep sounds from his headset as his HUD activates. A grid-based map appears, confirming that he is approaching Merrill Village. He gives the command to disarm his weaponized vehicle as he speeds onward. A beep confirms the command as he prepares to make his final approach. The bike begins to dissolve into particles of shimmering, digital light. He leaps from the dematerializing bike, his feet hitting the ground running. He lands in a perfect crouch amidst a swirling vortex of light particles. His face is a mask of grim determination as he surveys the desolate landscape. He kneels on the snow-dusted ground, letting out a quiet breath. He has arrived. With a faint, knowing smile, Schubaltz remarks that it has been a while. He looks down from a snowy ridge upon the ruined Merrill Village. A title page shows him arriving safely at the bustling adventurer camp. As he walks through a crude wooden gate, a guard notices his approach. The guild investigator, Keys, recognizes him as the one who saved Azuri. Schubaltz recalls him as one of the first guild members he ever met. He introduces himself, explaining he has come to help at Remy's request. Keys firmly shakes his offered hand, his grip strong and welcoming. He introduces himself as Keys and expresses his gratitude for Schubaltz's help. Keys urges him to come along, saying they are heading out immediately. A powerful team of horses pulls their carriage through the winter landscape. Inside, Keys begins his briefing, explaining what is currently known. He explains the new dungeon has been named the Labyrinth of the Green Demon. So far, only demi-humans like goblins and hobgoblins have been confirmed. However, Keys warns of the high probability that ogres are also present. A young adventurer in the carriage gasps in fear at the grim news. Schubaltz's HUD displays data, comparing a goblin to a hulking hobgoblin. The tactical display then shows the immense, terrifying scale of an ogre. The young adventurer stammers, asking if the situation is bad. Keys agrees. Keys explains this is why only the most high-level adventurers were gathered. Schubaltz arrives at the main camp, amazed by its small town-like scale. Keys leads him through the camp's main thoroughfare, a chaotic marketplace. He pulls back a tent flap, revealing another familiar investigator inside. The long-haired man welcomes Keys back with a weary, knowing smile. His attention turns to Schubaltz, whom he identifies from Remy's message. He confirms Remy contacted him about the mapping mission Schubaltz would assist. He tells Schubaltz he should enter the labyrinth as soon as possible. He explains that since the labyrinth is unknown, 2 guards will be assigned. From within the tent, he calls for Frau and Mishi to come forward. A tall, blonde witch and a small, energetic catgirl step out. Schubaltz is momentarily surprised by the appearance of his new companions. The catgirl excitedly introduces herself as Mishi of the Sasanqua, a B rank. The witch also introduces herself as Frau of the Sasanqua, another B rank. Schubaltz introduces himself as a D rank explorer, much to their shock. He gives a slightly sheepish, squeaky laugh at the obvious rank disparity. Mishi panics, exclaiming a D rank will be a very tough babysitting job. The investigator reassures them, stating Schubaltz has proven combat abilities. He leans in, his expression serious, to add another important condition. He explains that Schubaltz's mapping skills are a secret under contract. Mishi circles him, wondering what he can do besides make maps. Schubaltz calmly explains that he is a mask, unable to use magic. Mishi recoils, exclaiming that's no good and she's never seen one before. He continues, adding that he can, however, use a rare bloodline skill. Mishi's demeanor shifts instantly to excitement, amazed by the powerful skill. She fawns over him as the investigator remarks on her cat-like speech. The investigator shoos them off, telling the new party to get going. As they walk, Schubaltz remembers something and stops the group to ask. He asks Mishi what Sasanqua is. She explains it's their clan's name. Frau elaborates that it's an all-female clan based in the capital. Mishi asks what his skill can do, but Frau quickly chides her for prying. Frau reminds her that such questions violate the terms of their contract. They finally arrive at the labyrinth's entrance, a dark maw in the cliffside. Schubaltz remarks on the overwhelming stench of blood from within the cave. Mishi declares that from this point on, Schubaltz will take the lead. He agrees, his hand resting confidently on his holstered submachine gun. A title page shows the deep, brick-lined corridor of the labyrinth's first floor. The newly formed party ventures into the dark, oppressive corridor of the dungeon. The investigator's voiceover explains the team composition as they cautiously advance. Schubaltz notes how dark it is, his face illuminated by a faint light. His HUD pings, displaying a minimap and multiple enemy signatures up ahead. He raises a hand, his expression serious, telling the party to stop. He crouches, explaining that numerous enemies are in the large room ahead. Mishi is surprised he knows, as she can't smell any monsters yet. Frau asks for the plan, offering to cast a wide-area magic spell. Schubaltz tells her to handle any enemies that remain after her attack. The view shifts to reveal a massive horde of goblins filling the chamber. Frau's eyes narrow in concentration as she begins her powerful incantation. She throws her arms forward, her body wreathed in crackling magical energy. She unleashes Turbulent Wind Dance, a massive vortex of magical power. The spell rips through the goblin horde, sending them flying in all directions. The backwash of the spell sends Schubaltz and Mishi staggering backwards. The remaining goblins are thrown into chaos, disoriented and vulnerable. A close-up shows a goblin screaming as it's tossed through the air. Another goblin is sent spinning, its body contorted by the magical wind. The spell's immense power tears through the horde with devastating force. Schubaltz is stunned by the incredible power of the magical attack. Mishi, her twin blades drawn, leaps into the fray to clean up. A flash of light marks the end of the powerful magical vortex. Mishi lands amidst the disoriented goblins, her blades ready to strike. Her expression is one of fierce, focused determination as she begins her attack. She becomes a blur of motion, her twin blades cutting through the goblins. Her powerful kicks send goblin bodies flying, shattering the stone floor. She continues her assault, a whirlwind of deadly and efficient strikes. She flashes a wide, confident grin, exclaiming how amazing it feels. Schubaltz is impressed by the power of the suit and the magic. The battle is over, they stand amidst a sea of goblin corpses. Frau and Mishi tell him now is his chance to make the map. He reassures them, saying the map-making is already proceeding smoothly. He states his plan, find the labyrinth's edge to gauge its size. Mishi asks if he's okay, while Frau mutters thoughtfully to herself. He stands guard at a corner, his rifle held at the ready. He continues to lead the party through the dark, oppressive corridors. Frau and Mishi follow close behind, their own senses on high alert. Schubaltz uses a chemical light stick to illuminate the path forward. Mishi crouches, examining strange, glowing flowers growing along the path. A close-up reveals the bioluminescent flowers, a source of light in the darkness. His HUD pings again, the minimap showing the twisting path ahead. He stops, sensing that something is just around the next corner. The corridor opens into a breathtaking, massive cavern with stone bridges. Schubaltz is amazed, while Frau identifies it as a spring of purification. Schubaltz asks about the spring of purification. Frau explains it is a monster-free zone. Mage finds it creepy for a spring to be on the very first floor. Frau agrees, confirming that springs are normally found much, much deeper. She warns of a powerful gatekeeper and an even stronger dungeon master beyond. Frau worries that their small party is not powerful enough to proceed further. Schubaltz asks if even their combined combat strength would be insufficient. He makes a command decision to return to the camp for now. He states his priority is to create a map before they scout the spring. He steps into a darkened archway, continuing his reconnaissance of the area. A strange, metallic scraping sound from the darkness makes him stop and listen. He raises his P90, demanding to know what is making the sound. An empty, rusted wheelchair rolls out of the shadows, stopping before him. He stares in utter shock, recognizing the impossible, anachronistic object. He looks into a long corridor filled with abandoned gurneys and hospital equipment. His mind reels, struggling to comprehend the impossible sight before his eyes. He gasps in horrified realization, he is standing in the ruins of a hospital. He desperately questions what this place is and why it exists here. He wonders why things from his original world are present in this labyrinth. The chapter title splash page echoes his question about his world's objects. He stares down the impossible corridor, wondering what lies ahead for him. He questions what is happening and what this impossible reality could mean. Overcome with a desperate hope, he breaks into a full, frantic sprint. He runs with grim determination, his body moving with practiced, efficient speed. He believes this is the first real clue he has found in this world. He thinks he might finally find a way to return to his original world. He leaps across an impossible chasm between crumbling, intersecting hospital hallways. He lands hard, gritting his teeth as he pushes his body to its absolute limits. He runs along a surreal landscape, a derelict train car hanging in the void. His face is a mask of pure, desperate determination as he races onward. He curses, pushing his VMB-enhanced body faster through the bizarre architecture. The impossible, decaying structure of the train car looms over the chasm. He screams to himself that he must get to the end of this path. A hand suddenly grabs his cloak, stopping his desperate charge in its tracks. Frau and Mage tackle him, wrestling him back from the dangerous precipice. He struggles against their grip, his eyes still fixed on his distant goal. Frau screams at him, demanding to know what he is doing and forbidding him. Mage pleads with him to return to camp, sensing the deep strangeness here. The three of them stand at the edge, looking at the impossible, surreal vista. Mage points at the train, asking what the long thing is. Frau calls it a giant snake. As his companions panic, Schubaltz calmly identifies the object as a train. He realizes seeing others in a panic has a strangely calming effect on him. He agrees they are all confused and should return to camp for the time being. Back at the bustling adventurer camp, he asks Frau if she has calmed down. In the camp's busy market, he gets Frau's attention to ask his questions. He asks her to tell him everything she knows about what a labyrinth is. He pleads with her to share any information that she might have about them. Frau considers his desperate request, her hand on her chin in thought. She agrees to tell him the hypothesis held by many labyrinth scholars. She explains that the labyrinths were created by an ancient, wicked god. This god's name has been lost to time, known only as a distant memory. The wicked god uses the labyrinths to destroy and cull all the world's races. Schubaltz is stunned, questioning the reason for such a cruel, pointless act. Frau explains that for the god, it is all just a game against the world. Because it is a game, adventurers can obtain valuable magic stones within. Because it is a game, there are teleportation circles on certain deep floors. Those who conquer a labyrinth's core become heroes with immense wealth. Even the existence of safe zones like the spring is another rule in the game. She concludes that everything is simply part of the wicked god's great game. She asks him with a knowing smile if he doesn't think so too. She dismisses it as just a part of an old legend as they walk on. Schubaltz is left to ponder the terrifying implications of her ancient story. Having seen things from his world, he is now inclined to believe her theory. A new resolve forms in his mind, his focus shifting to the present. He realizes conquering this labyrinth might be connected to his return home. For the first time, he has a clear objective in this other world. He vows that he will absolutely conquer this labyrinth of the Green Demon. The next day, he prepares to present the map he has tirelessly created. A guild official, Keys, announces to the commander that the map is ready. Keyes presents the rolled map to the commander, who is visibly impressed. Keyes explains that it's only a partial map, but it's incredibly detailed. The commander's face contorts with shock as he begins to unroll the map. Unfurled, the map is a perfect, impossibly complex schematic of the first floor. He cannot believe that a mere section could be so complex and vast. He worries that a normal labyrinth would be contained in a few more floors. Frau points out the spring, which should be deep, is on the first floor. She adds they saw things beyond the spring that defied all known explanation. The commander realizes this is a completely unknown type of labyrinth. He asks Frau for her assessment, and she confirms it is likely. Frau theorizes the labyrinth has crammed everything onto a single, vast floor. The commander makes a decision, ordering the base camp moved to the spring. He declares they will form a new labyrinth exploration team around this base. He orders Frau and Mage to form a party with Schubaltz to re-enter. He warns them that the monsters beyond the spring will be much stronger. Schubaltz, listening in, understands the gravity of the new, dangerous mission. He knows that the monsters are about to become much more powerful. He realizes his current weapon, the FNP-90, may no longer be enough. He considers upgrading to an assault rifle for more necessary stopping power. He pauses, considering an even more powerful class of firearm for the job. He decides he must go one step higher, a powerful battle rifle. A vast arsenal of formidable battle rifles appears in his VMB shop interface. He selects his new weapon, an FN Scar-H, materializing it in his hands. He grips the powerful rifle, feeling its solid and reassuring weight. He knows it uses powerful bullets, but has a low magazine capacity. He decides to carry both the P90 and the Scar-H for tactical versatility. Mage finds him in the camp, happy to see him ready for the mission. She grabs his arm, telling him to come with her for a moment. He asks what she wants, and she says there are people to introduce. She proudly presents the new members of their Sasanqua clan party. Schubaltz looks on, taking in the sight of his powerful new teammates. Mage introduces Mirinda the heavy warrior, Lu the swordsman, and Lally the mage. A graceful swordswoman with dark hair salutes, introducing herself as Lu, an A-rank adventurer. An energetic warrior in ornate armor cheerfully announces herself as Mirinda, also an A-rank. A small, robed girl with a staff says her name is Lepidica, but to call her Lally. Schubaltz is stunned to see two A-rank adventurers from Balga in a single party. Mage proudly reveals that Lally is the third daughter of the powerful lord of Balga. Lally explains she is just training with the Sasanqua clan, so there's no need to worry. Schubaltz reintroduces himself as a D-rank explorer, ready to begin the mission. With introductions concluded, Frau, the party's leader, declares that it is time to go. They enter a dark, brick-lined corridor, the first basement floor of the labyrinth. A horde of grotesque, snarling goblins immediately charges towards the new arrivals. The A-rank warriors, Mirinda and Lu, move forward to intercept the monster charge. Lu draws her blade, her expression one of focused calm as she prepares for battle. She becomes a whirlwind of steel, effortlessly carving a path through the goblin horde. Leaping through the air, her sword a blur, she dispatches countless enemies with grace. Goblins cry out in pain as they are cut down by her impossibly fast slashes. Her concentration is absolute as she continues her deadly dance through the enemy ranks. Schubaltz can only watch in stunned silence, completely awestruck by her power. Enraged by their losses, the remaining goblins press their attack with renewed ferocity. Lu is suddenly caught off guard as more goblins ambush her from the ceiling. Mirinda roars and slams her massive shield forward, protecting Lu from the attack. Lally cries out in affirmation, unleashing a powerful wave of magical energy from her staff. Her spell tears through the goblin ranks, sending them flying with explosive force. Mirinda leans on her shield, declaring the fight wasn't much of a challenge for them. Frau, ever the pragmatist, sternly reminds her that they were only weak goblins. Lally proudly states that her enhancement magic was a significant help in the battle. Frau lectures her warriors, warning them that overconfidence is deadly in a labyrinth. Mage playfully agrees, wagging her finger and telling Lu that carelessness is forbidden. Schubaltz is deeply impressed, thinking to himself how amazing the Sasanqua party is. Mage lets out a cheerful cry as they arrive at the breathtaking spring of purification. The energetic girl runs ahead, excitedly exclaiming that they have finally made it. Schubaltz's expression shifts as he notices something unexpected in the vast cavern. He is amazed to see a massive forward operating camp already established in the safe zone. A voice calls out from the bustling camp, and Schubaltz turns, confused. A dark-haired, imposing man addresses him, confirming that he is indeed Schubaltz. The man introduces himself as Will, an A-rank adventurer from the Hegemony clan. Will explains that, like Schubaltz, he is also in charge of mapping the labyrinth. He praises Shubalt's map, calling it a truly magnificent and wonderful piece of work. Will's expression becomes serious as he says he has something he needs to discuss. Suddenly, a massive hand grabs Shubalt's shoulder from behind, startling him. A brutish warrior holds him fast, demanding that he teach Will his secret technique. The man sneers, saying that such a powerful skill is wasted on the Sasanqua women. Shubalt, sweating under the man's powerful grip, nervously asks who he is. The warrior roars his identity, Rionel of the Hegemony, another A-rank adventurer. Rionel smirks, telling Shubalt not to play dumb with him about his abilities. He screams in Shubalt's face, demanding to be taught how to draw the map. Shubalt is terrified by the outburst, wondering what this man is even talking about. Mishi steps in, calling Rionel an idiot and asking what he thinks he's doing. Rionel's face contorts with rage as he is challenged by the small cat girl. Mishi reminds Rionel that Shubalt's mapping method is a sworn guild secret. She asks if he didn't hear about the contract from the guild officials. Her taunts continue as she asks if he is simply forgetting the rules. With a cheerful smile, she asks if he forgot because he's a complete idiot. Her words go too far, and she gasps in shock as Rionel grabs her arm. "Shut up, you catwoman," he roars, his powerful grip tightening on her arm. He threatens to beat her up again, just like he has done in the past. Mishi cries out, suddenly remembering a previous painful encounter with the brute. "I'll make you remember." Rionel screams, his massive fist raised to strike her. He swings his fist, his attack closing in on the terrified Mishi's face. A gloved hand intercepts his punch just inches from its target, stopping it cold. Lu holds his fist, sternly telling him to stop while pulling Mishi behind her. She reveals that she is Mishi's swordsmanship instructor, and she will protect her student. Lu grins menacingly, warning Rionel that he'll be the one getting beaten up if they fight. Mirinda slams her massive shield into the ground, her powerful presence a silent threat. She warns Rionel not to lay another hand on one of their own clan members. She cracks her knuckles, promising to beat him to a bloody pulp if he tries. Frau's voice cuts through the tension, ordering both sides to stop this foolishness. Her eyes blaze with magical power as she threatens to kill them if they don't back down. The other adventurers shriek in fear, declaring Frau the scariest of them all. Rionel's hand trembles with rage, but he is forced to back down from the threat. Will smoothly intervenes, pulling Rionel back and chiding him for his shameful behavior. He tells Frau that they don't need the technique if they simply share map information. Will tells Shubalt to forget the pointless fight, as they'll be working together now. He suggests that they can compare their explored sections of the map later on. As they walk away, Will adds that he wants to know about the monsters they've found. Shubalt quietly remarks to Lally that the Hegemony clan is quite violent and unruly. Lally explains that the Hegemony is the oldest clan, founded by the royal family. She says their immense power still reigns supreme, so their behavior is to be expected. Shubalt listens intently, a thoughtful expression on his face as he processes this. The Sasanqua clan rallies around Mishi, promising to teach her their unique skills. The party stands before a massive, ruined structure, the entrance to the deeper labyrinth. The full party stands together, Mishi cheering them on for the coming battle ahead. Shubalt, his rifle in hand, declares that it is finally time for the real fight. They enter a surreal corridor filled with overturned wheelchairs and hospital gurneys. Shubalt looks up at the modern light fixtures on the ceiling, his confusion growing. He stares at the rows of abandoned hospital beds, a chilling and familiar sight. He touches a bed, realizing with a shock that this place is from his original world. A sharp beep from his HUD alerts him to a sudden, unseen threat nearby. He spins around, shouting a warning of an enemy as he leaps into action. He finds himself facing a silent, motionless crowd of naked humanoid figures. "Mannequins?" he yells, as the rest of the party cries out in confusion and fear. He warns his companions to get back, sensing a powerful enemy hiding among the figures. A crowned, monstrous hobgoblin emerges from the crowd, its face a mask of pure rage. The creature lets out a deafening roar as it leaps into the air to attack. Shubalt identifies the creature as a hobgoblin, his P90 already aimed and ready. He pulls the trigger, the sound of the gunshot echoing in the sterile, tiled hallway. His bullets tear through the hobgoblin, but it continues its charge completely unfazed. The monster's eyes glow with malevolent intelligence as it shrugs off the attack. It brings its massive weapon down, shattering the floor around Shubalt with immense force. He is thrown back, shocked that his two powerful shots had absolutely no effect. He is sent flying through the air as the battle truly begins, his Scar H now in hand. Shubalt is stunned as a monstrous hobgoblin's club narrowly misses his face. Mirinda roars his name, her massive shield intercepting the powerful blow. The A-rank warrior strains, holding the line against the beast's incredible strength. Locked in a stalemate, Mirinda and the hobgoblin snarl at each other. She shouts that even a direct headshot won't be enough to kill it. Shubalts adapts, declaring he'll put 2 shots in its head and heart. He vows to mow down the entire mannequin horde with a full magazine. The monstrous hobgoblins charge forward in a terrifying, chaotic wave of fury. Mirinda and Lou stand ready to meet the charge, their blades drawn. The elite party forms a perfect line, a fusion of magic and steel. The mages, Frau and Lally, begin their powerful incantations from the rear. Mage cheerfully tells Frau that she will handle the rear guard as usual. Mirinda acknowledges her duty, preparing to defend the front line with a cry. Lou leaps into the fray, her sword flashing as she lets out a battle cry. Frau unleashes a torrent of fire, incinerating a rank of the monsters. Lally directs the flow of battle, her expression one of focused concentration. Mage joins the fight, her face a mask of fierce determination. A soft chime sounds as Shubalt's HUD registers the end of the battle. A holographic clear appears, he confirms there are no more enemies. He reflects that his P90's 5.7mm rounds can't kill them in one shot. He muses that it might soon be time for his scar to shine. Mage peeks over his shoulder, her cat-like eyes gleaming with curiosity. "What is this, Naya?" she exclaims, fascinated by his futuristic weapon. He warns her not to touch it, explaining that it is his unique skill. She tumbles to the floor, much to the amusement of a laughing Mirinda. Frau scolds them for playing, telling them to collect the magic stones. The party prepares to continue their journey deeper into the labyrinth. Shubalts reflects that their first day of exploration is now complete. Mage playfully demands that Shubalts help with the work. They arrive back at the Spring of Purification, now a bustling camp. Mage cheers, excited by the prospect of food and rest. They are confronted by Rionel, the brutish A-rank from the Hegemony clan. Rionel's face is a mask of arrogant contempt. He gloats that camp space is first come, first served. He points, declaring their space is at the very edge of the camp. The Sasanqua clan is visibly annoyed, Lou calling him narrow-minded. Shubalts, unimpressed, thinks to himself how petty the large man is. Mirinda decides they will simply leave and set up their own camp. Lou warns Rionel not to peek at them while they change clothes. Rionel explodes in rage, shouting that he would never do that. Shubalts is bewildered by the sudden, childish argument. What is this, he wonders, completely baffled by their behavior. Mirinda stretches, declaring their new, secluded spot will be their campsite. The Sasanqua clan proudly stands before their newly erected tent. The younger members playfully wrestle inside the spacious tent. Shubalts announces he will now go make his map. He heads for a small, secluded chamber he found earlier. He reassures the worried Frau that he will be fine. He finds a quiet corner in the labyrinth to begin his work. A soft chime sounds as he activates his VMB system. His HUD lights up with a caution alert, detecting nearby goblins. A confident smirk plays on his lips as he prepares for battle. He moves with blinding speed, a blur of motion against the charging goblins. He stands over the corpses, musing that more might come. All right, he decides, activating his VMB shop with a soft chime. He decides to go all out, accessing his vehicle inventory. A massive AEC Dorchester armored personnel carrier materializes before him. He pats the vehicle, satisfied that it will protect him from goblins. He notes that while the vehicle is old, its interior is another story. The interior is a pristine, fully equipped mobile command center. He enters, ready to begin the serious work of mapping the labyrinth. Meanwhile, Frau and Lally begin their search for the missing Shubalts. They call out his name, their voices echoing through the empty corridor. Lally cheerfully announces that dinner is ready. They round a corner and are stunned by the sight of the Dorchester. Frau grabs Lally, warning her that it could be a monster. She draws her axe, ready to attack the strange, metal beast. A hatch opens, and Shubalts emerges, thinking more goblins have arrived. He sees them and realizes his mistake with a sheepish ah. He notices the large, axe-shaped dent in the 12mm steel plate. Frau asks what the massive object is, if it's one of his things. He explains with a smile that it's something like his tent. Frau, now cheerful, tells him that dinner is ready. They lead him back to the camp, the food getting cold. The party enjoys a warm meal together, a moment of peace. Shubalts recognizes the hearty stew as a Russian-style dish. He tells Lou that it's delicious, much to her delight. Their meal is interrupted by the sound of approaching footsteps. Will, the leader of the Hegemony clan, approaches him. He suggests it is time to compare their maps in the guild tent. Shubalts, seeing no reason to refuse, agrees. In the command tent, they lay their maps out on a massive table. Will presents his clan's map, and Shubalts thanks him. Shubalts is stunned by the detail, realizing they've explored much further. He notices something strange about their routes. He sees that they have been deliberately avoiding the spring of purification. He notes that they have explored deep into the area beyond the spring. What does this mean, he wonders, the implication dawning on him. He realizes they've been using the spring as a secret recovery point. He wonders if they actually intended to make the dangerous deep dive. Will asks if something is bothering him, if he has noticed anything. Schubaltz confronts him, asking why they didn't discover the spring. Will's expression hardens as he confirms Schubaltz's suspicion. He admits that they didn't notice its existence until Schubaltz found it. He claims that if they had found it, no parties would have been wiped out. He adds that he never imagined a spring would be on the first floor. Schubaltz nods, saying that if that's the case, he understands. But his eyes narrow with a single, unspoken thought, liar. Reinel asks Will if the route for tomorrow's exploration has been decided. Will tells him they must ensure their routes do not overlap. The elite Sasanqua clan and Schubaltz stand united, ready for their perilous mission. Their rivals, Will and Reinel of the Hegemony clan, join the grand expedition. The combined force of adventurers descends into the labyrinth's dark, echoing depths. Schubaltz confirms the plan: take the shortest route. Frau nods in understanding. A sudden, piercing shriek fills the air as the dungeon itself begins to tremble violently. They find themselves inside a derelict subway car, the party thrown into utter chaos. Mirinda screams about the violent shaking as Frau desperately asks if this is the only path. The powerful warriors are reduced to a nauseous, groaning heap on the carriage floor. A soft beep from his HUD alerts Schubaltz to an approaching threat. He announces something is ahead, while Frau wonders if it could be hobgoblins. Schubaltz tells Mishi he will accompany her to scout ahead of the others. Mishi eagerly agrees, noting that the exhausted party members can take a rest. Worried for Mishi, Lou decides to go too, telling the others to follow when they can. Schubaltz decides it is time to use his more powerful weapon for this fight. He warns his companions that the rifle's report will be incredibly loud. The small scout team of 3 runs down the long, brick-lined corridor. They round a corner, Schubaltz taking point with his Scar H at the ready. He takes aim, his expression a mask of intense, focused concentration. The rifle roars to life, its muzzle flash illuminating the dark, narrow passage. The powerful action cycles, ejecting a spent shell casing with a sharp metallic sound. Mishi shrieks in agony, her sensitive cat ears overwhelmed by the deafening blast. A massive, brutish hobgoblin charges forward, its fanged maw open in a terrifying roar. The bullet finds its mark, striking the hobgoblin directly between its eyes. The creature's head explodes in a graphic spray of gore and shattered bone. Mishi exclaims at the incredible metallic sound, her ears still ringing in pain. Lou scolds Schubaltz, explaining the sound is far too loud for Mishi's hearing. Schubaltz acknowledges her command with a sharp, "Roger that." He switches to controlled, single shots, continuing his relentless assault on the horde. The hobgoblins are torn apart by the high-velocity rounds, their bodies mangled. An enraged hobgoblin, spattered with the blood of its kin, charges forward. From a first-person perspective, Schubaltz fires, sending the monster flying backward. A hobgoblin breaks through the line, catching Lou off guard and knocking her down. Lou grits her teeth in frustration and pain as the monster looms over her. Schubaltz intervenes, his body now glowing with a shimmering hexagonal energy field. He yells the name of his VMB ability, Circle Barrier Shield. The hobgoblin roars as its powerful fist smashes into the unyielding energy barrier. Schubaltz is surprised by the shield's strength, but the monster relentlessly attacks. The hobgoblin's fists hammer against the barrier, spiderweb cracks forming on its surface. The shield shatters, and the monster's powerful blow connects with Schubaltz. Lou watches in horror as her protector is thrown back by the brutal attack. Schubaltz shoves Lou to safety, taking the full force of the monster's assault. He lands on his feet, his compact P90 now in his hands, ready to counter. He shoves the barrel of the weapon under the hobgoblin's chin and fires. He switches back to his Scar H, using it as a blunt instrument in close combat. His face is a mask of grim determination as he prepares to reload his weapon. He finds himself surrounded by a new wave of monstrous, shadowy hobgoblins. His eyes narrow, his focus absolute, as he prepares to re-engage the enemy. Frau arrives on the scene, commanding the mighty Mirinda to take the front line. Frau then orders the young mage Lally to tend to Schubaltz's wounds. The powerful warriors of the Sasanqua clan form a defensive wall against the horde. Lally asks Schubaltz for his hand, explaining she will now begin to heal him. She closes her eyes and begins to chant, her hands glowing with magical energy. A swirling vortex of magical aqua heal water envelopes Schubaltz's wounded arm. The magic fades, but the deep, bloody gashes on his hand remain untouched. Lally stares in disbelief, unable to comprehend why her powerful magic failed. Shubalts calmly reassures her, stating that a minor scratch like this is nothing. Just as I thought, he mutters to himself, confirming his own grim suspicions. Lu, her own wounds ignored, prepares to re-enter the fight, drawing her sword. She unleashes her Crescent Moon attack, clearing the remaining monsters in a flash. Mirinda joins the fray, her massive warhammer glowing with destructive power. She smashes through the goblin ranks, sending their broken bodies flying. Frau unleashes her own Aqua Lance spell, a barrage of magical projectiles. She stands as a protector, warning she won't forgive anyone who harms her companions. Lally approaches her, her voice filled with concern, and Frau asks what is wrong. Lally explains that her healing magic had no effect on Shubalts. Frau theorizes it is because he is a mask, a magic-less individual. Shubalts explains healing magic interferes with the target's own magical energy to work. Frau realizes with a dawning horror that it's impossible to interfere with Shubalts. This also means that enhancement magic, a core part of their strategy, won't work. Lally excitedly suggests testing poison magic on him, but Shubalts politely declines. The full, terrifying implication of his unique condition hangs in the silent air. The party surrounds him, their faces a mixture of confusion and deep concern. Lally realizes with horror that if he is wounded, they have no way to heal him. Shubalts explains he has automatic recovery, but it is not an instantaneous process. They venture deeper into the labyrinth, confronting new, more grotesque monsters. 8 days into their expedition, the strain of the relentless combat begins to show. The monsters have become stronger, their forms more twisted and mutated by the dungeon. The labyrinth itself has changed, its architecture becoming more vast and alien. They find themselves in a massive chamber filled with towering, crystalline pillars. The party is exhausted, their weary pants echoing as their progress slows to a crawl. Even Shubalts, with his VMB-enhanced body, is beginning to feel the strain. They are confronted by a new, terrifying creature, a writhing mass of tentacles. The creature unleashes a devastating magical attack from its many gaping maws. Frau identifies it as a hobgoblin mage, its form twisted beyond recognition. The magical blast tears through the chamber, a wave of pure, destructive energy. Mirinda throws herself in front of the party, her massive shield held high. The shield holds against the blast, but the force of the impact is immense. She is thrown back, her body battered, her shield cracked and smoking. The monster looms over her, its victory seemingly assured as the others look on. Lally screams for Shubalts to stop the creature's regeneration with his magic. Mishi's cat ears twitch in pain as the monster lets out a high-pitched shriek. Shubalts tells Mishi to defend against the sonic attack with her own magic. Mishi, her hands clamped over her ears, tells Shubalts to go for it. Shubalts opens fire, his aim steady, his resolve unshakable. He leads the charge, telling the party not to give the monster a chance to cast. The party follows him into the fray, their own powers unleashed in a desperate assault. The battle is a chaotic, desperate struggle for survival against the monstrous mage. Mirinda is thrown back, her own strength no match for the monster's brute force. Lu is also sent flying, her own elegant swordplay proving ineffective. Mirinda is caught in the monster's grasp, her fate now hanging in the balance. Mishi leaps into the fray, shouting that she is coming to help Mirinda. Lu and Mishi, members of the Sasanqua clan, spring into action together. Their combined sword attacks become a whirlwind of slashes against the grotesque monster. The beast lets out a guttural roar of pure fury from the painful assault. With determined cries, Lu and Mishi press their coordinated attack against the beast. The monster twists and recoils as their sharp blades find their marks. The young mage, Lally, focuses her energy, preparing to cast a spell. She warns them to be careful and unleashes her tidal round dance spell. Lu declares that she and Mishi will hold the monster until Frau's spell is ready. Frau, gathering immense power, commands everyone to fall back immediately. She unleashes her ultimate spell, Cyclone, engulfing the monster in a massive vortex. The magical storm rages, tearing apart the very chamber around them. Frau reveals that this cyclone is twice as powerful as her normal version. She hopes it's enough, as the party's stamina is completely drained. But from the dust and rubble, a new horde of spider-like monsters emerges. Frau gasps, her eyes wide with shock and utter disbelief at the new threat. Shubalt steps forward, raising his rifle to face the overwhelming swarm alone. He opens fire, his advanced weapon tearing through the front ranks of the monsters. As he reloads, his HUD confirms that the immediate area is now clear. He quietly wonders to himself just how long they have been fighting. Looking at his exhausted party, he feels they have been on this battlefield forever. He decides they can go no further and must not proceed. He approaches a massive, ornate gate that gleams with an otherworldly light. His eyes widen in shock as he processes what the structure is. He realizes it is a gate, which means a powerful gatekeeper must be beyond it. He shouts that it's no good, that everyone is at their limit to continue. The elite party stands before the gate, utterly battered and weary from the fight. Mishi explains that beyond the gatekeeper is a demon beast they can defeat together. Shubaltz listens to her optimistic plan, his own expression grim and doubtful. He closes his eyes, his mind made up about their next course of action. He turns to the surprised party and tells them they are going back. He knows a powerful enemy waits, judging from the monsters they just defeated. He believes a monster beyond their imagination waits behind the massive gate. Lu tells him to recover and re-equip, while Mishi complains about the trouble. Frau cheerfully announces their retreat, and Mishi happily agrees with a Naya. Frau seriously asks if they can truly fight the dungeon master after the gatekeeper. Mishi declares it impossible, saying she's going home because she is hungry. Frau promises a 3-day rest with good food, instantly re-energizing Mishi. Shubaltz reflects to himself that it was a good thing they didn't charge in. He has a very bad feeling about what lies beyond the ornate gate. A title card shows the party's camp established in the Spring of Purification. Inside the tent, the women of the Sasankwa clan are fast asleep. Shubaltz sits alone by the campfire, unable to find rest. Mishi emerges from the tent, asking why he isn't sleeping inside with them. She says he shouldn't worry and invites him to sleep, as it's only women. He says someone needs to keep watch, so Mishi decides to join him. He smiles and gives the cheerful catgirl a reassuring pat on the head. A sudden beep from his HUD alerts him to an approaching presence. He says someone is coming, and Mishi sniffs the air, smelling a goblin. The brutish adventurer Rionel appears, greeting them with a casual, "Yo." Mishi angrily demands to know why he is here, accusing him of peeping. Rionel denies her accusation, stating he only came to get the new map. He unrolls the map, impressed, muttering that it is a fine piece of work. He looks up from the detailed map, saying that it is a shame. Shubaltz, standing with Mishi, asks Rionel what he means by that. Rionel grins, asking if he's curious about a mapmaker's concerns. Shubaltz confirms his interest, as his skills are essential for their mission. Rionel agrees that the map itself is indeed magnificent. He clarifies, however, that what he finds shameful is not the map, but Shubaltz himself. Rionel suddenly attacks, slamming his massive fist into the ground with great force. Mishi lets out a terrified scream as the shockwave erupts from the impact. Shubaltz is thrown off his feet, his body skidding across the rocky ground. Rionel taunts him, saying he loses his balance from such a simple attack. He looks down at Shubaltz, telling him the real shame is his own weakness. Rionel explains a mapmaker's limit is 50 floors, making him useless here. This great labyrinth exceeds 100 floors, making Shubaltz's skills a wasted treasure. He tells Shubaltz that as he is now, he is simply not enough. Rionel walks away, declaring that the howls of ogres are his personal lullaby. Mishi rushes to Shubaltz's side, anxiously asking if he is alright. Shubaltz says he is fine as he and Mishi watch Rionel walk away. He wonders why he's being targeted, but Mishi says he's just being underestimated. Mishi explains Rionel's clan was founded by the king's male-centric knights. She says they have a long history of looking down on and using women. Shubaltz listens to the story, remarking on how cruel their history is. Mishi continues, explaining the Sasankwa clan was formed by women who would not forgive men. The Hegemony clan dislikes them and uses their royal power to apply pressure. In response, the Sasankwa fought back, becoming monstrously strong to survive. Now that they have power, the Hegemony can no longer touch them easily. Shubaltz connects the dots, realizing this must be why Lally is with them. Mishi corrects him, saying Lally is actually there for her bridal training. Shubaltz is surprised by this completely unexpected revelation about the young mage. Lally must train her magic to marry a suitor chosen by the nobles. This is to ensure a powerful magical bloodline continues to lead the people. Shubaltz thinks that he cannot accept this custom, despite cultural differences. Mishi, exhausted from her long explanation, falls asleep on his lap. Surprised, he looks down and asks if she has fallen asleep. She murmurs in her sleep, asking what he is trying to hide. He smiles gently to himself, admitting that he must be a cat person. He activates his holographic HUD, deciding it is time to prepare. He prepares for the coming battle, knowing it's what he must do to protect them. Mishi sleeps peacefully, looking out over the vast, dangerous canyon of the labyrinth. A bonus comic begins, showing Mishi sleeping soundly with a large fish pillow. Rionel peeks around a rocky corner with a sinister and lecherous grin. He muses to himself that adventurers are usually defenseless when they sleep. He wonders what the Sasankwa girls look like sleeping and runs off excitedly. His foot catches on a nearly invisible tripwire stretched across the ground. The tripwire immediately triggers a small, hidden crossbow trap nearby. A crossbow bolt shoots out, embedding itself squarely in his rear end. Rionel's face contorts in a silent scream of pure, unadulterated agony. In the heart of the camp, blacksmiths work tirelessly at their forges. An ornate, glowing shield is quenched in water with a great hiss. A smith carefully hammers the fine details onto a new greave. Another sharpens a longsword on a spinning grindstone until it gleams. Mishi arrives at the spring of purification smithy, stretching happily. She leans over the counter, asking the old man if their gear is ready. The master blacksmith smiles warmly and confirms that it is. He proudly declares their equipment is now even sturdier than before. Frau gathers her companions, her expression resolute and ready for battle. With a determined "let's go," she leads the party into a misty passage. Schubaltz consults his map, saying they will take the shortest route. The rest of the party looks completely baffled by his declaration. A train from another world screeches along tracks on the ceiling. The adventurers are thrown about inside the car, crying out in panic. The others frantically try to calm the terrified Mishi amidst the chaos. Mishi watches in horror as some of her companions fall into the abyss. Schubaltz stands firm, gripping his scar-H, completely unfazed. He states they must conserve their strength by avoiding draining battles. He assures them he will eliminate any enemies from a distance. Frau, placing her full trust in him, says she understands. Leading the way, Schubaltz tells the party it's time to move out. His rifle roars, its muzzle flash illuminating the dark stone tunnel. The party runs past the gory, dismembered corpse of a slain monster. Schubaltz provides covering fire as the party sprints down the corridor. Lally looks up, her eyes wide with wonder at the structure ahead. They emerge into a vast chamber filled with glowing support pillars. They finally arrive before a colossal, ornately carved gate. The party is relieved to have arrived without becoming exhausted. Mirinda grins, remarking it has been a long time since she fought a gatekeeper. She explains that defeating a gatekeeper is a requirement for A rank. Mishi is ecstatic, realizing this means she can become A rank too. Lou teases her for still being B rank after failing the test so many times. Lally, annoyed, tells them to stop talking and just get going. Schubaltz notes that he feels no tension, as this is normal for him. Frau places her hand on the massive gate, feeling its immense power. Intricate runes on the gate's surface glow as it begins to open. "All right," Frau declares, "let's subjugate this labyrinth." The small group of adventurers steps into the vast, empty chamber. Schubaltz scans the area, noting the darkness and lack of cover. A single, mysterious point of light appears in the blackness. The light rushes towards them, revealing a massive, ruined colosseum. The party is thrown back by the sheer force of the sudden arrival. One of the adventurers points out the entrance they just came through. Schubaltz grits his teeth, his expression one of grim determination. A colossal, shadowy humanoid figure rises from the dust and debris. Its face is a horrifying porcelain mask with 3 glowing, vacant eyes. Mirinda is shocked, realizing this is not a goblin or an ogre. Frau stares in horror, unable to comprehend what this creature is. The monster's mask splits open into a concentric maw, and it roars. The party is stunned by the sheer power of its terrifying war cry. "I'll make the first move," Schubaltz declares, opening fire. The bullet streaks across the arena, aimed directly at the creature's head. The round impacts the mask, shattering harmlessly against its surface. Schubaltz cries out in disbelief, asking how it was deflected. He notes the metallic sound and wonders what the monster is made of. Lally and Frau begin chanting a powerful, 2-person enhancement spell. The party's warriors are wreathed in a sparkling aura of magical power. Schubaltz recognizes the enhancement magic being cast upon his friends. "All right, let's go!" Lou yells, leading the empowered warriors in a charge. The fighters descend on the gatekeeper from all sides in a blur of motion. Schubaltz knows a headshot is useless, he must provide combat support. He thinks he must strike the instant the monster's focus shifts. From a high perch, he declares he will rob the creature of its mobility. He fires his rifle, spent casings ejecting as he lays down suppressing fire. The powerful rounds tear into the monster's leg, causing it to stumble. The gatekeeper's 3 glowing eyes fixate on its new attacker. The monster roars in pain and fury, turning its attention to Schubaltz. "Is it wise to be distracted by me?" Schubaltz taunts from above. Lou seizes the opening, drawing her blade for a devastating attack. She unleashes her Mikazuki technique, a trio of crescent energy slashes. Mishi watches from below as the powerful energy blades fly. The cat girl lets out a cheer, amazed by the devastating sword attack. Mirinda follows up with her 4-part combo, Shadow Moon. Her massive axe slams into the creature repeatedly, showering it in debris. The heavy warrior lets out a powerful war cry as she attacks. With all her strength, she brings her axe down in a final, crushing blow. The monster is thrown back by the incredible force of her great swing. The impact sends a shockwave of shattered stone across the arena floor. "All right, now, Frau!" Mirinda yells, creating the next opening. Frau, floating high above the battle, prepares to unleash her own spell. She summons a colossal, three-headed water dragon, her Aqua Lance. Her face is a mask of intense concentration as she channels her magic. "Crush it," she commands, sending the magical dragon diving downwards. The three heads of the water dragon slam into the gatekeeper's form. The magical impact creates a massive explosion of water and pure energy. The entire arena is engulfed in the cataclysmic, elemental blast. Shubalts shields himself from the backwash, calling out to his companions. From the receding waters, the gatekeeper's glowing eyes reappear. "It's still standing?" Shubalts cries as the monster rises, undeterred. He declares that he will take the creature's other knee. The wounded monster stumbles forward, its rage and power undiminished. Its glowing eyes narrow, focusing on its next target with deadly intent. It lets out a furious roar, its attention now fixed on Shubalts. The gatekeeper unleashes a powerful beam of energy from its gaping maw. "Damn it!" Shubalts curses, realizing he has no way to escape the blast. Lally unleashes her Water Lotus Flower spell to intercept the attack. Shubalts is stunned to see a massive shield of water appear before him. He looks up, wondering if it was Frau who saved him. Frau, perched high on a ruined arch, shouts, "Lally, now!" Lally responds instantly, her hands raised to cast another powerful spell. With a powerful cry, Lally unleashes her spell, Aqua Band, binding the colossal gatekeeper. Thick, magical tendrils of water wrap around the monster, constricting its massive form. Shubalts watches, surprised as the creature tries to block its mouth and nose. Lally explains that with its breathing cut off, it can neither roar nor cast magic. She adds that because the bonds are liquid, the creature cannot grasp or break them. Frau steps forward, arms outstretched, preparing to unleash her own formidable power. She commands Rock Band, and jagged stone pillars erupt, reinforcing the watery prison. "All right, it's stopped!" Mishi shouts, as she and Lu prepare to charge the immobilized foe. Lally lets out a strained grunt as her spell suddenly surges with uncontrollable energy. She urgently calls out to Frau, asking her to hold the monster down. Under the immense pressure of the combined spells, the gatekeeper's mask begins to crack. The creature is now completely trapped, held fast in a cocoon of stone and water. A massive, serpentine blade of water erupts from Lally's staff, shooting across the chamber. Lally can only utter a surprised "eh" as her own magic grows beyond her control. Mirinda and Frau scream her name, shocked by the spell's impossible, destructive extension. The massive water blade slams into the far wall of the labyrinth with devastating force. The impact shatters the ancient stone, sending Shubalts flying through the air. The entire chamber begins to collapse as the ceiling crumbles into a chaotic avalanche. Shubalts is caught in the rockslide, his body slammed by the falling debris. He cries out in agony as his body is crushed beneath the weight of the rubble. Lally rushes to him, asking if he is okay and offering to heal him immediately. She stops short, her expression shifting to one of confusion and dawning realization. Shubalts tries to reassure her, saying he's fine and just bruised his back. He panics internally, realizing with sheer terror that his body will not move. His HUD flashes a critical alert, his powered suit is heavily damaged, its output at 60%. Lally lets out a gasp of alarm as a figure emerges from the dust and rubble. The gatekeeper rises, its bonds shattered, its rage undiminished by the collapse. Its porcelain mask is cracked, revealing a grotesque, multi-jawed mouth beneath. The creature unleashes a deafening, ethereal shriek that echoes through the ruined chamber. The party recoils, and Frau warns them to be on guard against the strange attack. A shimmering, invisible wave of energy washes over the entire battlefield. The women of the Sasanqua clan brace themselves, their weapons held at the ready. A glowing arc of energy passes over Shubalts and Lally, who are caught in the blast. Still on the ground, Shubalts wonders what is happening to him. He feels a strange sensation, as if something is being drained from his body. Lally stumbles, her staff falling from her grasp as her strength suddenly fails her. Tears well in her eyes as she whispers in despair, "No, it can't be." She collapses to the ground, completely drained of her magical energy and will to fight. Frau, her face a mask of horror, identifies the attack as the dreaded fear howling. Shubalts is shocked, realizing it is a skill that directly interferes with magic. Frau explains that anyone with magic caught in the blast loses control of their body. She laments how they were so close to victory, only to be defeated so easily. With tears in her eyes, she realizes that no one can defeat the monster now. A single tear rolls down her cheek as she accepts their inevitable, tragic defeat. Mage struggles to drag the unconscious Mirinda to safety, telling her to hold on. She looks back with sorrow at the still, helpless forms of Lu and Frau. Tears stream down her face as she lets out a desperate, heartbroken cry. She vows not to leave anyone behind, promising they will all escape this together. Schubaltz curses his paralysis, watching helplessly as the monster's wounds begin to heal. He looks on in horror, his eyes wide with a desperate, frantic urgency. Bubbles rise from the gatekeeper's wounds as its flesh knits itself back together. He realizes with dread that the creature's injuries are rapidly recovering. He grits his teeth, knowing he must defeat it now, but his body still won't obey. He screams in frustration, cursing his own powerlessness as a man without magic. The gatekeeper looms over the fallen adventurers, its victory now seemingly assured. Mage, paralyzed with terror, cries that her legs are frozen and she cannot move. The monster's tentacles writhe as it prepares to deliver the final, killing blow. It raises its massive, axe-like weapon, ready to execute the helpless adventurers. The blade descends upon the cowering Mage, its shadow engulfing her small frame. Mage thinks of her friends, her family, and their vow to return home together. The gatekeeper's cracked, smiling mask fills the frame, a harbinger of imminent death. A flashback shows the Sasanqua clan sharing a meal, laughing together like dear friends. Another memory shows them fighting as one, a perfectly coordinated and powerful team. They were more than just a party of adventurers, they were like a family. Schubaltz's hand clenches into a tight fist, his resolve hardening into cold steel. He pushes himself up with a roar, declaring he will not let these people be killed. He screams at his own body, commanding it to move through sheer, unadulterated willpower. He knows his passive healing will eventually work, but he has no time to wait. "I am," he screams, his voice filled with a desperate, primal energy. He leaps to his feet, declaring that his body was built for this kind of fight. His HUD blares another emergency warning, power suit output is at a dangerous 35%. He grits his teeth, his expression one of grim acceptance of the incredible risk. "Then put everything into power," he roars, diverting all remaining energy to his limbs. The gatekeeper turns, surprised by his sudden and impossible recovery. A glancing blow from the monster sends him stumbling, but he manages to stay on his feet. His suit's output drops another 10%, the system now on the verge of total collapse. He pulls out an M84 flashbang and an M67 grenade in a desperate, last-ditch gambit. The flashbang detonates, engulfing the gatekeeper in a blinding sphere of white light. The grenade follows, the explosion shattering the creature's already damaged mask. The monster roars in pain and confusion, its senses completely overwhelmed by the assault. Schubaltz activates his tactical support system, yelling for 7.62 black tip ammunition. "Weapons ready," he declares, as his VMB inventory materializes a wall of magazines. Rows upon rows of specialized ammunition appear before him, ready for immediate use. He slams a magazine of the 7.62 black tip rounds into his powerful Scar H rifle. A schematic explains these rounds, used by the US military, have distinct black-painted tips. Another diagram shows the bullet's core, made of the same tungsten alloy as an excavator's blade. He takes aim, his face a mask of cold, focused determination. He knows that, in short, these are armor-piercing rounds, as he opens fire. The powerful bullets tear through the gatekeeper's mask, shattering it completely. The relentless assault continues, the armor-piercing rounds chewing through the creature's defenses. The gatekeeper roars in agony as the tungsten core bullets find their mark. He shifts his aim, targeting the creature's now exposed and vulnerable jaw. The bullets shred through its throat, silencing its terrifying and debilitating roar. "All right," he cries triumphantly, "now you can't use your fear howling." He stands over his fallen comrades, declaring that for him, there is no retreat. With a final, defiant cry, he declares his intention to go on the offensive. He charges, his VMB-enhanced agility allowing him to run up the creature's massive arm. He leaps onto its head, a small, determined figure against a colossal, monstrous foe. He jams the barrel of his rifle into its exposed brain and unleashes the entire magazine. The gatekeeper lets out a final, gurgling roar as its life is finally extinguished. Schubaltz is thrown back by the powerful attack, cursing loudly in his frustration. He grits his teeth, realizing his power suit is failing to provide its full output. With the suit broken, he cannot access its maximum state or additional armor. Even if he could use his high-powered arsenal, he lacks the resources. If he can't defeat the enemy, he will run out of CP and be stranded. Clenching his fist, he makes a desperate, final decision to fight on. He resolves to fight with only what he has available to him right now. He opens fire, his Scar H unleashing a relentless barrage at the enemy. The rifle clicks empty as a digital overlay confirms he is out of bullets. His eyes widen in disbelief, realizing he is out of ammo at this crucial moment. The gatekeeper grabs his rifle, promising to tear off his head with its hands. The monster roars triumphantly as it prepares to deliver the final, crushing blow. With immense force, it shatters his rifle and sends him flying backward. Shubaltz crashes hard into the stone rubble, his body absorbing the brutal impact. He lies broken and defeated amidst the debris, his fight apparently at an end. His power suit is heavily damaged, its functions shutting down completely, leaving him vulnerable. The massive gatekeeper looms over him, victorious and ready for the final strike. It raises its massive, bladed arm, preparing to execute its fallen opponent. Gasping for breath, Shubaltz defiantly tells the monster that it cannot kill him. He smiles through the blood, declaring that in this moment, he has companions. Mage appears suddenly, sword drawn and ready to face the towering gatekeeper. She shouts that because Shubaltz bought them time, she has fully recovered. With a fierce cry, she unleashes a powerful spinning attack against the beast. Her attack lands perfectly, exposing the monster's critical weak point for a final blow. Lu moves in with her katana drawn, ready to deliver the final blow. She unleashes her ultimate technique, a single, devastating, purple lightning flash. The powerful sword strike decapitates the gatekeeper, its head flying from its shoulders. The monster's head is shown in close-up, its life finally extinguished. Mirinda leaps high into the air, her massive axe poised for a final strike. She brings her axe down with immense force, cleaving the monster's body in two. The massive corpse crashes to the ground, narrowly missing Lally as she cries out. Frau approaches Shubaltz, remarking with a smile that he is surprisingly tough. He jokes that he is tougher than Mirinda, but feels he is about to die. Lally tackles him in a relieved hug, tears streaming down her face. She asks if he is okay, blaming her own inexperience for the situation. Mage cheers happily, declaring that he is just far too reckless for his own good. The other women of the clan join in, crushing him in a group hug. Shubaltz is completely overwhelmed by the sudden, affectionate group hug. He wonders if this is the promised harem situation from Otherworld stories. Mirinda and Lu squeeze him tightly, their own strength causing him great pain. He screams in pain, complaining that his armor is being crushed by their hug. He finally passes out, the concerned party gathering around his unconscious form. Frau summons a single, glowing white feather, preparing to send a message. The feather transforms into a bird of pure light and flies off into the distance. The glowing bird soars over a surreal cityscape, carrying its important message. In the command tent, officials lament their lack of progress against the labyrinth. Keys curses in frustration, wondering what is happening within the complex labyrinth. The magical bird of light arrives, landing softly in the command tent. It dissolves into a brilliant flash of light, startling the nearby officials. An official recognizes the phenomenon as Frau's unique messenger magic. A glowing message appears on the map, marking a new location for them. The official shouts in disbelief, realizing Frau has defeated the gatekeeper. He urgently orders his subordinate to contact the Labyrinth Knights in Balga. The Labyrinth Knights ride out in force, ready for the final subjugation. The massive corpse of the gatekeeper begins to dissolve into motes of light. The chamber is now empty, the threat of the gatekeeper finally gone. Shubaltz groans softly, his eyes fluttering as he regains consciousness. His companions gather around, relieved that he is finally awake after so long. He clutches his head, apologizing for his reckless actions during the intense battle. A digital overlay shows his power suit is still repairing, now at 70% capacity. Frau asks if his back is okay, and he reassures her that he is fine. He looks at his hand, noting with satisfaction that his wounds have fully healed. He clenches his fist, his mind already turning to the next challenge ahead. He looks up to see a massive temple high on a distant cliff face. Mirinda explains that the structure is the gate to the Dungeon Master's domain. Frau speculates the Dungeon Master will be even stronger than the gatekeeper was. She realizes the gatekeeper used the same powerful roar as the dreaded Occupite. Shubaltz realizes his own presence is essential for the party to succeed. The party shares a laugh, their spirits high after their hard-fought victory. As they prepare to move on, they are met by a large, new group. The Labyrinth Knights have arrived, an imposing wall of gleaming, full-plate armor. Mage and Lally are startled by the sudden, intimidating appearance of the knights. Their leader, Kaimon, greets Lally formally, addressing her with a noble title. Lally and Mage recognize him as the vice-commander of the Labyrinth Knights. Kaimon explains he is here to subjugate the labyrinth, joining forces with them. Frau turns her attention from the knights, calling out to Shubaltz. She apologizes for contacting the knights while he was still unconscious. She declares that they will conquer the dungeon master as a joint force. Shubalts is taken aback by her sudden, decisive declaration of a joint operation. She explains he must participate to share his information with the knights. She insists that he must come with them for the final battle. Shubalts understands that he might be the key to their victory, their lifeline. He agrees to her request, and the party prepares to move out together. With a raised fist, Kaimon gives the final order for the force to advance. The combined force of adventurers and knights walks toward the final gate. Mishi lets out a cheer as they ascend the long, winding staircase. They reach a grand plaza before the final temple, the last obstacle. Frau turns to Shubalts, apologizing for putting him in this dangerous position. She asks him to stay back from the front lines as much as he can. She declares her intent to unleash her most powerful magic on the dungeon master. Mirinda and Lu restrain her, warning her that such magic will destroy the labyrinth. Shubalts can only offer a weak, nervous laugh at their chaotic exchange. The combined force ascends the final, grand staircase to the main entrance. Shubalts steels his resolve, knowing that the final battle is about to begin. Kaimon gives Frau the order, and she confirms she is ready to proceed. She places her hand on the massive gate, which glows with magical energy. The massive, intricate doors slowly swing open, revealing the path ahead. They enter a vast, cathedral-like hall, its ceiling supported by countless pillars. The knights draw their swords as Kaimon gives the order to prepare for battle. Shubalts raises his rifle, ready for the final confrontation alongside the knights. Shubalts' eyes narrow in the darkness of the labyrinth's final chamber. He wonders what is happening. A flicker of unease crosses his face. He senses that something is deeply wrong here. The vast, ornate throne room is revealed to be completely and utterly empty. Kaimon roars in disbelief, furious at the sight of the vacant throne. He demands to know where the dungeon master is, his rage echoing in the hall. Shubalts asks what this means, and Frau explains a labyrinth requires a master to exist. Mishi cheerfully wonders if they accidentally killed it, mistaking it for the gatekeeper. Frau remains pensive, unable to make a judgment until the master's absence is confirmed. The party stands in the silent hall, realizing this labyrinth is full of mysteries. A flashback reveals the truth. Lally holds the glowing dungeon core before kneeling knights. The core, she knows, is the proof that she has completed her bridal training. Now a labyrinth subjugator, she can return to her lord and choose a husband. With its core removed, the labyrinth and its world begin to slowly die. Back in the present, Shubalts wonders what the ultimate purpose of this labyrinth was. Rionel approaches, a contemptuous sneer on his face as he addresses Shubalts. He will congratulate the mapmaker for subjugating the labyrinth. Shubalts corrects them, insisting the Sasanqua Knights were the ones who conquered it. Will dismisses this, stating that Shubalts was the one who guided them there. He notes they were stuck for a week, while Shubalts reached the depths in days. Will concludes that this is why the Hegemony clan holds him in such high regard. Rionel makes his offer, Shubalts should join their clan. Shubalts politely refuses. A tense standoff ensues, Shubalts smiles calmly while his rivals scowl in disbelief. Rionel explodes with rage, calling him a fool for refusing such a great honor. Shubalts jokes about the Hegemony clan's poor sense of compliance. He tells them plainly that he doesn't like them, so they will understand. He accuses them of boasting about past achievements and the merits of others. They constantly look down on people, he says, always believing they are right. He tells the brats that he sees no future for the Hegemony clan. Will holds Rionel back, claiming to understand the mapmaker's feelings. His expression hardens as he says that he, too, will now be perfectly clear. He shouts that they desire Shubalt's power and will treat him as a tool. A small, chibi-like image of Shubalt's smiling face appears in the darkness. Will continues his rant, listing Shubalt's mapping and powerful fighting abilities. With his help, he claims, the Hegemony could conquer all labyrinths in the world. Shubalt's expression darkens. He says their true, ugly intentions are finally showing. Rionel is shocked by his audacity, but Will confirms the truth of his ambition. Shubalts realizes with dawning horror that they knew about the gatekeeper all along. He accuses them of creating an unnatural map to lure in and kill other explorers. The two Hegemony adventurers are taken aback by his sharp accusation. Will feigns ignorance, asking what on earth he could be talking about. He raises a finger, saying he will tell him one thing. A newborn labyrinth, he explains, offers little if subjugated too quickly. But if you feed it with lives, he says, the rewards will be multiplied. Shubalts looks down, his voice low with disgust as he mutters that it's a waste. He clenches his fists, his face contorting into a mask of pure, unadulterated rage. He screams at them, demanding to know how many adventurers died for their greed. He roars that the dead were all people with their own wills and dreams. As he lunges forward, a firm hand grips his shoulder, stopping him in his tracks. It is Remy, who calmly tells him to stop his foolish attack. Shubaltz looks over his shoulder, the VMB logo on his earpiece visible. He questions Remy's intervention, his voice laced with disbelief. She explains that making an enemy of the Hegemony clan is not a wise decision. She reveals that their clan master is third in line for the royal throne. Shubaltz is stunned to learn he has been confronting royalty this whole time. He wonders aloud to Remy if it was a mistake to ever get involved with map-making. He laments that he has stood out too much and become the cause of conflict. Remy stands tall, assuring him she will take responsibility and protect his secrets. This way, she explains, no other clan can steal his information and increase competition. Shubaltz looks at her, understanding the cold, political logic of her actions. Remy adds that if the Hegemony clan still wants to compete, she has a response. She turns to Shubaltz, telling him he needs a proper backer to protect him. He asks her to clarify what she means by that. Remy takes a purposeful step forward, her armored boot clicking on the stone floor. She leans in close, formally inviting him to come to the guild. She says that so far, he has only been drawing maps of the labyrinths. Her eye narrows, her gaze intense. She knows he is capable of much more. She asks if he could map the natural world with the same impossible precision. Shubaltz is visibly shaken by the weight of her request, his mind racing. He grits his teeth, knowing with absolute certainty that he can do it. He thinks of the nature of maps, how they are simply blocks of information. Using his system to trace the world, he could create a perfect representation. In this world, such a thing would be an impossibly overspec map. It would become a tactical map of unparalleled value to the entire kingdom. He realizes with a jolt that this must be why the Hegemony wanted him so badly. Remy interprets his silence as an affirmation of his ability. He asks her to wait a little while for his final answer to the guild's invitation. Remy watches him walk away, telling him that she doesn't mind waiting. As Shubaltz ascends the grand staircase, he contemplates the ultimate outcome of his journey. He muses that in this strange new world, he is a cheat character. He worries that if he continues to live this way, he will lose his place here. He pauses, then realizes the more fundamental question that has been haunting him. Why must he live in this other world at all? Suddenly, a notification pings in his vision, an email, with 80 unread messages. He clutches his head in utter shock, unable to believe he is receiving an email. He thinks it's impossible, the mail function has never worked in this world. The email is a garbled mess, with the subject, to the answer, and sender, error. He holds up the holographic screen, but he is unable to translate the corrupted data. He can only decipher a single, chilling phrase, a lost child has fallen from another world. His eyes widen in horror as he continues to read the fragmented message. The text clarifies, you, by error, were dropped into this world. He realizes with a shock that this entity had a single, terrible purpose for him. An image shows a VMB mech, its goal to make him the master of the labyrinth. But the sender claims to have obstructed this plan, sending him falling through data. He wonders what could have possibly stopped such a powerful being. His fall was broken, and he was accepted by this new world. He looks down at the screen, a grim acceptance settling over him. He cannot go back. He knows he must live in this world, whether he likes it or not. He shouts in rage, realizing he was deliberately dropped into this world by someone. He was nearly forced to become the master of the labyrinth. And the sender of this very email was the one who stopped it from happening. Missing description for panel 0001. Missing description for panel 0002. Missing description for panel 0003. Missing description for panel 0004. Missing description for panel 0005. Missing description for panel 0006. Missing description for panel 0007. Missing description for panel 0008. Missing description for panel 0009. Missing description for panel 0010. Missing description for panel 0011. Missing description for panel 0012. Missing description for panel 0013. Missing description for panel 0014. Missing description for panel 0015. Missing description for panel 0016. Missing description for panel 0017. Missing description for panel 0018. Missing description for panel 0019. Missing description for panel 0020. Missing description for panel 0021. Missing description for panel 0022. Missing description for panel 0023. Missing description for panel 0024. Missing description for panel 0025. Missing description for panel 0026. Missing description for panel 0027. Missing description for panel 0028. Missing description for panel 0029. Missing description for panel 0030. Missing description for panel 0031. Missing description for panel 0032. Missing description for panel 0033. Missing description for panel 0034. Missing description for panel 0035. Missing description for panel 0036. Missing description for panel 0037. Missing description for panel 0038. Missing description for panel 0039. Missing description for panel 0040. Missing description for panel 0041. Missing description for panel 0042. Missing description for panel 0043. Missing description for panel 0044. Missing description for panel 0045. Missing description for panel 0046. Missing description for panel 0047. Missing description for panel 0048. Missing description for panel 0049. Missing description for panel 0050. Missing description for panel 0051. Missing description for panel 0052. Missing description for panel 0053. Missing description for panel 0054. Missing description for panel 0055. Missing description for panel 0056. Missing description for panel 0057. Missing description for panel 0058. Missing description for panel 0059. Missing description for panel 0060. Missing description for panel 0061. Missing description for panel 0062. Missing description for panel 0063. Missing description for panel 0064. Missing description for panel 0065. Missing description for panel 0066. Missing description for panel 0067. Missing description for panel 0068. Missing description for panel 0069. Missing description for panel 0070. Missing description for panel 0071. Missing description for panel 0072. Missing description for panel 0073. Missing description for panel 0074. Missing description for panel 0075. Missing description for panel 0076. Missing description for panel 0077. Missing description for panel 0078. Missing description for panel 0079. Missing description for panel 0080. Missing description for panel 0081. Missing description for panel 0082. Missing description for panel 0083. Missing description for panel 0084. Missing description for panel 0085. Missing description for panel 0086. Missing description for panel 0087. Missing description for panel 0088. Missing description for panel 0089. Missing description for panel 0090. Missing description for panel 0091. Missing description for panel 0092. Missing description for panel 0093. Missing description for panel 0094. Missing description for panel 0095. Missing description for panel 0096. Missing description for panel 0097. Missing description for panel 0098. Missing description for panel 0099. Missing description for panel 0100. An official presents a cushion bearing 5 massive silver coins, a reward from the Sasankwa clan. Mishi confronts a guild official, demanding to know why Shubaltz isn't receiving a reward. She insists Shubaltz save them and declares she will give him her own reward. Frau gently intervenes, telling the dejected Mishi that she cannot do that. The Sasankwa clan gathers, deciding as comrades to pool their rewards for him. Mishi's face lights up with a wide, infectious smile at her friend's generosity. One by one, the women of the clan place their coins upon the cushion. The combined reward, a small fortune in silver, now rests together on the velvet. Shubaltz observes this act of unity, understanding its profound significance. He reflects that while he has lost much, he has also gained new comrades. The armored boots of the Labyrinth Knights march in perfect, disciplined unison. Kaimon, their commander, orders his knights to follow Frau and Mishi's lead. Raising his sword high, Kaimon declares they will now subjugate the labyrinth's remaining demons. Mishi and Frau ready themselves, understanding people fight to protect their daily lives. In a sprawling camp, soldiers and support staff work to sustain the war effort. Shubaltz knows that both monsters and men threaten the peace these people protect. He realizes protecting this world may one day mean fighting people, not just monsters. A cart driver in the bustling military camp offers the pensive Shubaltz a ride. As the cart moves, Shubaltz tells himself to think calmly about what comes next. He feels a strange disconnect, as if his mind is separate from his heart. The cart rumbles on, but Shubaltz remains completely lost in his own thoughts. He looks to the sky, questioning what he is truly feeling angry about. Before the labyrinth's dark maw, he wonders what is making him so sad. He concludes that he doesn't understand his own emotions at all right now. Despite his confusion, a faint, knowing smile touches his lips as he recalls a feeling. A panoramic view reveals a winding road leading towards a massive city in the distance. Shubaltz arrives at the Malta Company, a grand and imposing stone headquarters. He walks through the palatial, statue-lined hall of the merchant's establishment. Malta, the head of the company, greets him with a warm and friendly smile. Shubaltz immediately asks to buy magic stones, but Malta suggests they talk over tea first. He makes a staggering request, 10 million ol worth of non-elemental magic stones. With a slight smile, Shubaltz asks if such a large request is impossible to fulfill. Malta laughs, explaining he anticipated Shubaltz's needs and has prepared a large supply. In a warehouse of cathedral-like proportions, Shubaltz stands in absolute awe. He feels a wave of relief, knowing he can now fight without resupply worries. He smiles to himself, pleased that the massive bulk purchase came with a discount. Malta approaches him again, asking if he has a moment for another matter. Shubaltz politely agrees, asking the merchant what he can do for him. Outside, Malta gestures to a long line of wagons, asking for help with transport. He explains that his company has been supplying the labyrinth subjugation camp. Shubaltz learns this was a form of early investment by the shrewd Malta Company. The merchant reveals that his supply caravans have been repeatedly attacked by bandits. Shubaltz's expression becomes grim as he understands the gravity of the situation. He knows that many dangerous monsters still lurk within the labyrinth's depths. He also knows that countless people are still fighting inside, risking their lives. Without these vital supplies, the knight's very survival would be in jeopardy. Shubaltz accepts the dangerous escort mission, and Malta thanks him profusely. With a sly look, Shubaltz confirms this means Malta wants to use his tool bag. Malta's eyes widen in delight as he eagerly agrees, urging him to use it. As Shubaltz leaves, Malta promises him that the reward will be well worth it. Shubaltz reflects that he cannot keep his VMB powers a secret forever. He knows that sooner or later, his unique abilities will become widely known. He considers the possibility of someone else possessing his incredible power. A familiar voice calls out, and he turns to see Azuri welcoming him back. She smiles brightly, calling his name as she approaches through the crowd. He greets her, mentioning he heard she had gone to the labyrinth of the Green Demon. He confirms that he, too, managed to make it back from the mission safely. He gestures to her new outfit, asking about her new winter attire. She explains she is heading north to investigate the Harbia and Okupete. Shubaltz nods, a gentle, knowing smile on his face. Azuri reports her investigation concluded the monsters were drawn to the labyrinth. She reveals the two powerful creatures were originally from the far north. He remarks on the surprisingly broad range of duties for a guild investigator. A sudden thought strikes him, something important he had forgotten. He recalls that Remy invited him to join a guild. Azuri looks up at him, her expression suddenly serious and surprised. Her eyes widen as she asks if he was truly invited to join the guild. She presses him, asking if it was the general guild or something else. He confirms that he was indeed invited to join a guild. He asks her if there is a significant difference between the guild branches. Azuri explains the guild's complex structure, a vast tree of departments. She notes that if Remy is involved, it must be a very specific department. She trails off, a look of deep, concerned thought crossing her face. Shubaltz asks if she thinks it is some kind of special department. He thanks her for the valuable information, and she seems surprised by his politeness. He decides he will investigate further before responding to Remy's invitation. Azuri stops him, calling his name with a bright, curious smile. She asks if a burden has been lifted, if something has been resolved for him. She observes that he looks much more refreshed and at peace than before. He turns back, agreeing that one of his worries has indeed been resolved. He knows that to live on as Shubaltz, he must now use his VMB abilities fully. He accesses his tactical support system, preparing to customize his avatar. The system displays the skeletal frame of his power suit, his main equipment. He adds new armor plates and changes the suit's primary color to black. A long, dark tactical coat is layered over the top of the new armor. An intimidating, full-face tactical mask is fitted over his head. The mask locks into place with a sharp, definitive mechanical click. The transformation completes as a voice modulation system engages, altering his speech. The new, heavily armored figure flexes its hands, testing the new form. He initiates a full systems check of his new persona's various functions. From his vast arsenal, he selects a new primary weapon type, assault rifles. His main armament will be the integrally suppressed Russian AS-Val. For his secondary weapon, he chooses the compact, transformable FMG-9. The new figure takes a confident aim with his AS-Val rifle. The system prompts Player 1 to register a new player name. He muses that the English reading of the Russian word VAL is. His modulated voice declares his new identity, Shaft. Shaft walks through the city, his imposing armored form turning heads. The title card announces the chapter, a new costume for the decisive battle. Shaft arrives at Malta's loading docks, ready to begin his first mission. The imposing, armored Shaft is politely asked his business by a company man. Shaft explains he is here on Shubalt's behalf to guard the merchant caravan. He asks the man to please announce his arrival to the merchant, Malta. Malta appears, his expression a mask of pure, stammering confusion. The merchant looks up at the towering figure and asks who he is. The armored figure kneels, introducing himself as Shubaltz, stunning the old merchant. Shubaltz explains the transformation is for his skill. Malta notes his different voice. Seated in an office, Malta listens to the explanation and says he understands. Shubaltz reaches up and begins to remove the complex, intimidating helmet. Malta admits he could not have trusted him if he'd kept the mask on. Shubaltz asks to be called Shaft. When transformed, Malta agrees to this. Malta observes that Shubaltz's very tone and way of speaking changes with the armor. He considers adopting a gruff, mercenary-like way of speaking and finds it interesting. With a faint, confident smile, he prepares to put the helmet back on. Now fully transformed, Shaft tells Malta that they should get going. Their departure is halted by a loud voice demanding to see the client. Shaft turns his head, thinking he recognizes the sound of that voice. A boisterous, bearded adventurer appears, making a dramatic entrance. He loudly introduces himself as Maximilian, the C-rank master of his clan. His companions, Walkaiser and Gotthard, introduce themselves as fellow C-rank adventurers. The boisterous trio stands before Shaft and Malta, ready to make their case. A sharp memory returns of these same men crudely harassing Azuri in Balga. Malta formally thanks Maximilian for accepting the request to be an escort. He then introduces Shaft as his friend, whom he's asked to be a guard. Shaft quietly asks if they are reliable. Malta confirms their successful record. Maximilian confronts Shaft, demanding to know if he is a mercenary or adventurer. He screams at Shaft, aggressively demanding to be told his adventurer rank. Shaft coolly replies he is neither, but simply a friend acting as a guard. The trio scoffs, declaring that with them around, a mere freeloader is unnecessary. Maximilian smacks his companion, yelling at him to call him master on duty. Malta offers a placating smile, trying to calm the rowdy adventurers down. He assures them he knows Shaft's abilities and tells them not to worry. With the preparations complete, the order is given for the caravan to depart. Shaft sits stoically in the driver's box as the caravan rolls out. Malta explains their first destination is the company's main branch in the capital. Shaft asks about the cargo. Malta explains they are magic stones from the labyrinth. Malta worries the harvest festival's increased trade makes them a prime target for bandits. Malta boasts of his judgment, but Shaft angrily cuts him off. He furiously asks if Malta was traveling completely alone when they first met. Malta laughs nervously, admitting that in hindsight, it was indeed a dangerous situation. The caravan halts at a rest stop along the desolate Balga highway. Maximilian explains the watch rotation, and Shaft simply agrees to the plan. Maximilian mutters that only an idiot would dare attack them in this location. Shaft considers his words, thinking that a large, organized group would be different. The next morning, Shaft rests against a wall, his vigil continuing. He reports that, for the time being, there have been no problems. He hopes their journey remains peaceful, but his posture is ever vigilant. Maximilian and his men ride at the head of the caravan procession. Shaft suddenly raises a hand to his helmet, sensing something is wrong. He thinks that while his sensors are clear, he feels something is amiss. He tells a startled Malta that he can clearly hear horse hooves approaching. He looks to the woods, stating they are being shadowed from the tree line. Malta panics, saying he hears nothing and fears it could be bandits. Maximilian scoffs, certain that he would have spotted any bandit scouts. He smacks his companion again, yelling at him for his insubordination. Shaft tells Malta they must move out that night, solidifying their employees. The caravan makes camp for the night at the second highway rest stop. Shaft stands a solitary, imposing watch over the sleeping members of the camp. He walks past the loudly snoring form of the adventurer, Maximilian. A sudden ping from his internal sensors alerts him to an approaching threat. His glowing eyes narrow as he focuses intently on the surrounding darkness. With grim certainty, his modulated voice simply says that they are coming. A massive force of heavily armored cavalry charges out from the woods. Shaft kicks Maximilian awake, yelling at him to get up immediately. He informs the terrified adventurer that a large number of bandits are attacking. The charging horde of armored riders numbers at least 60 strong. The C-rank adventurers panic, mounting their horses to flee for their lives. Shaft watches their cowardly retreat with a shocked and angry expression. Maximilian screams that against such numbers, there is no hope of being saved. He yells at his fleeing companions, telling them to look closer. He points out their excellent equipment. They are not common bandits at all. His men scream that they can't possibly handle this and gallop away. Shaft glares after the cowardly adventurers, his expression filled with contempt. The caravan workers panic, realizing that against this force, they are doomed. Shaft knows they cannot protect the people and wagons if they are surrounded. Malta turns and screams his bodyguard's name in absolute terror. Shaft roars at Malta that he will buy time, they must flee now. Malta, his face a mask of fear and resolve, agrees to the plan. He orders everyone to abandon the cargo and escape in the lightest wagon. Malta looks back as Shaft turns to face the approaching horde alone. He shouts a final, desperate promise that they will meet in the capital. Shaft acknowledges the promise, readying his weapon to face the enemy. With a crack of the whip, the wagon thunders away into the night. Shaft vows that now he just has to stop the bandits' advance. He knows he does not have to defeat every single one of them. The bandit leader calls him a fool and orders his men to pursue. Shaft's eye widens in shock at their unexpected tactic. He watches in horror, realizing they are chasing after the merchants. He understands with dawning horror that their target was never the supplies. The slavers laugh manically, ordering their men to kill and kill again. Shaft's face twists into a mask of pure, unadulterated fury. He declares that he doesn't need to defeat them all. He knows if he doesn't kill them now, they will just continue killing. He thinks of the terrified people he has sworn to protect from harm. Clutching his shotgun, he vows that he will show no hesitation. He declares he will crush all the evil this world has to offer. He roars that he would much rather the wicked die than good people. He opens fire, telling the bandits this is where they will die. A storm of massive shotgun shells flies towards the charging cavalry horde. The shells impact the front rank, throwing the bandits into bloody chaos. A cavalry of heavily armored bandits charges forward, one shouting for them to wait. The charge immediately collapses into chaos as a horse screams in agony and falls. From his hiding place, Shaft coldly decides to eliminate the bandits' means of transport. The bandit leader furiously points his sword, ordering his men to kill their target. A futuristic M84 flashbang grenade, a tool of modern warfare, arcs through the air. The grenade detonates, its searing light and sound engulfing the panicked horses and riders. A bandit screams in utter shock and confusion, asking what that terrifying thing was. The entire cavalry formation is thrown into disarray, men and horses falling in heaps. Blinded riders cry out in agony, wondering about the source of the impossible light. In the ensuing confusion, the bandits begin to accidentally strike down their own comrades. The leader surveys the carnage, asking how many they've lost while ordering a regroup. Shaft decides he cannot be bothered with them any longer, preparing his next move. The chaos of the flashbang continues to wreak havoc among the disoriented bandits. Shaft thinks that he can't afford to waste any more time dealing with them. He accesses his VMB interface with a sharp beep, selecting a new piece of equipment. A Kawasaki KLX 250 dirt bike materializes, a machine from a completely different world. He tells the bandits that if they truly want the cargo, he has a gift for them. He declares his intention to destroy the wagon right there, tossing incendiary grenades. The supply wagon erupts in a massive, fiery explosion, a perfect and terrifying diversion. Shaft mounts his motorcycle, his long tactical coat flowing behind him as he revs the engine. He speeds away from the fiery chaos, a blur of motion disappearing into the woods. He expertly navigates the dark forest, his bike's headlight cutting through the gloom. He draws his FMG-9 submachine gun, ready to turn from defender into a relentless hunter. A menacing grin spreads across his face as he prepares to hunt down the scattered bandits. The terrified remnants of the bandit cavalry flee through the forest in complete disarray. One of the captured carriage drivers screams that this is bad, they will be caught. Shaft expertly maneuvers his bike, leaning hard into a sharp turn during the high-speed pursuit. His masked face shows grim determination as he takes aim with his FMG-9. He soars over a natural dirt mound, launching himself directly into the fleeing riders. A bandit screams in pain as he's crushed, asking what this impossible monster is. Shaft lands perfectly, using the bike's momentum to skid to a powerful, controlled stop. He coldly informs the terrified bandit that he does not have a name to give him. He raises his weapon, promising the remaining bandits that not a single one will escape. He stands before the terrified remnants of the horde, a futuristic Grim Reaper on horseback. He calmly reloads his FMG-9, the brutal, one-sided battle now completely concluded. The caravan continues its journey down the road, the immediate threat having been neutralized. Inside the main wagon, a driver notices the sudden silence, wondering what has happened. Shaft pulls up beside the carriage as Malta cries out, overjoyed that he is safe. He calmly informs Malta that the bandits are gone and will not be coming back. He apologizes, explaining that the cargo wagon was unfortunately burned during the fight. Malta, overjoyed and relieved, tells him not to worry about the wagon at all. He begins to thank Schubaltz by name, but quickly corrects himself, now calling him Shaft. Malta bows deeply, thanking Shaft for having saved his life for a second time. Shaft tells him it was simply part of the job, and that they must press onward. The caravan driver announces their departure, and they continue their journey to the capital. Shaft reflects on his promise, knowing that a lingering doubt about their safety remains. He explains to Siegfried that the bandits' true target was not the cargo, but the merchants. Siegfried realizes with dawning horror that the ultimate target must have been Malta himself. Shaft knows in his gut that the pursuit is not over, that this is only the beginning. Siegfried agrees with a grim smile, saying they must remain vigilant and on guard. Miles away, the bandit leader surveys the carnage of his defeated forward unit. A subordinate reports the total loss of the unit, and the leader curses them as useless. He realizes his target was only disguised as a simple merchant, a clever and deadly ruse. The subordinate reports that only their own men were lost in the one-sided battle. The bandit leader curses, realizing this is the disastrous result of their own foolish actions. He rages at his unseen client for saddling him with such a powerful opponent. He declares that if the target is heading to the capital, then they will follow. He rallies his remaining men, declaring themselves the Anabesu, a fearsome horde of bandits. He vows to repay the debt for his fallen men in kind, with blood and vengeance. The caravan continues its long journey, the dark threat of retribution following close behind. Shaft sits quietly in the back of the wagon, his mind replaying the violent battle. He remembers the bandits he killed, the lives he took without a moment of hesitation. The face of a screaming bandit flashes through his mind, a stark and haunting memory. Another bandit's terrified face appears, a victim of his cold and efficient violence. A third face, contorted in agony, haunts his thoughts, another casualty of his duty. He stands before the bandits, knowing deep down that he has no regrets for his actions. He reflects on his own emotional state, realizing he felt absolutely nothing during the killing. He wonders at his own coldness, having taken human lives for the very first time. He looks out at the passing landscape, asking himself if he was always this cruel. Days later, Malta joyfully announces that the capital is finally in sight, breaking the tension. Shaft remains silent, his head bowed, still lost in his own dark and troubling thoughts. The magnificent, sprawling capital city appears on the horizon, a truly breathtaking sight. Malta notes they must report the bandit attack before they can properly enter the city. The caravan makes its way along the high road, overlooking the vast and ancient cityscape. Shaft remarks on its immense size as Malta proudly boasts of its 500-year history. Malta casually mentions his shop is located within the second castle wall, a prime location. They arrive at the Malta Company headquarters, an opulent, palatial building in the city center. Shaft is stunned by its size, noting it's far grander than the Balga branch. A crowd of employees rushes out to greet the president, surprised by their early arrival. A senior employee cries out in relief, thankful that Malta has returned to them unharmed. Malta tells Shaft it is finally time to rest, and Shaft agrees with a simple nod. Shaft interrupts, saying there is one more thing he must do before they can rest. He summons the caravan's cargo from his gift box, the crates materializing from thin air. Malta praises Shaft, explaining the burning wagon was a bluff to save the valuable goods. The onlookers are shocked, asking what that thing is and who this strange man is. They call him a suspicious, weirdly dressed pervert, recoiling in fear and utter confusion. Malta orders his men to move the cargo while he and Shaft take a well-deserved break. In his private library, Malta serves a fine tea in an exquisite silver and porcelain service. Schubaltz, now unmasked, smiles warmly, remarking on how delicious the tea is. He fondly recalls his travels for FPS tournaments and the many different teas he has tasted. He compliments Malta, telling him that this is a truly wonderful and rare black tea. Malta laughs, understanding Schubalt's discerning taste, and they share a quiet, peaceful moment. Schubaltz takes another sip, savoring the familiar taste and the brief moment of respite. He lets out a relaxed sigh, the immense tension of the journey finally melting away. He sets down his cup, the soft clink of porcelain marking the end of their rest. He picks up his mask, his expression hardening as he prepares to get down to business. He dons the menacing mask, his transformation back into the intimidating Shaft now complete. Now fully Shaft again, he addresses Malta regarding the previous night's surprise attack. He explains the bandits' true target was not the cargo, but the company itself. Malta realizes the grim truth: the ultimate target must have been him, personally. In his opulent office, Malta leans forward, asking his armored protector if the bandits who attacked them said anything. Shaft, his voice a metallic rasp, recalls their only words, a command to not let the merchant escape. Malta slumps back into his chair with a sigh, the grim meaning of the message all too clear to him. He apologizes to Shaft, lamenting that his new bodyguard has been dragged into the capital's vicious political struggles. Shaft listens intently as Malta begins to explain the true, cutthroat nature of the city's power structure. The fierce competition among merchants, he explains, is the dark, unseen side of the capital's prosperity. Publicly, the powerful nobles and wealthy merchants maintain a facade of cooperation and friendly rivalry. But beneath the surface, a secret and ruthless war for influence is constantly being waged. Merchants desperately claw for the patronage of the powerful, engaging in a fierce contest for their favor. Securing the backing of a noble's private army is a surefire way to gain an upper hand. It is common for these powerful patrons to enforce market monopolies for their favored merchants. This leads to a shadow world of assassins and conspiracies, where business rivals are permanently eliminated. Malta concludes that the attack was likely motivated by his recent involvement in a new market monopoly. Shaft, unfamiliar with the term in this context, asks what specific market they are discussing. The merchant clarifies that it is the market for the resources from the labyrinth of the Green Demon. He explains that upon the labyrinth's discovery, he immediately set his grand plan into motion. Using his connections with lords and influential figures, he provided all the necessary supplies for the subjugation. He established eateries for the adventurers, ensuring they were well fed for the dangerous task ahead. He funded blacksmiths to forge new weapons and repair the adventurers' damaged armor. He also set up shops to provide all the necessary tools and equipment for the expedition. In short, he single-handedly built all the infrastructure needed to support the camp's life. Shaft, impressed by the sheer scale of the operation, asks why he went to such lengths. With a gentle, warm smile, Malta explains that this grand project is his personal dream. He sees the crowds of people gathering at the labyrinth as the foundation of something new. He envisions that this settlement will eventually grow into a prosperous new village or town. With everyone becoming wealthy from mining magic stones, he too can conduct his beloved business there. Shaft lets out a small, almost inaudible chuckle from within his helmet at the merchant's passion. He thinks to himself that this man truly, deeply loves the art of commerce. Malta's expression turns serious once more as he reveals the most recent, and most dangerous, development. He has been granted the exclusive right from the local lord to purchase the labyrinth's magic stones. Shaft's glowing eyes widen in shock, instantly understanding the immense danger this puts Malta in. Malta confirms his fear, stating that this is almost certainly the reason for the recent attack. Shaft processes this new information, the pieces of the puzzle clicking into place with grim finality. He realizes that with these exclusive buying rights, Malta will continue to be a target for his rivals. He grits his teeth, knowing they are now on the defensive against a powerful and unknown enemy. Suddenly, a young girl bursts into the room, running towards the two men. "Father," she cries, leaping into Malta's arms in a flying, affectionate tackle. The girl, Minea, asks if it's true that bandits attacked him, while Malta reminds her of their guest. Shaft sits silently, a monolithic observer to the chaotic but heartwarming family reunion. A faint, almost imperceptible smile forms on Shaft's lips beneath the harsh angles of his mask. Minea sees the strange expression on the armored man's face and lets out a blood-curdling scream of terror. An elegant woman enters, scooping up the crying Minea and gently chiding her for bothering their guest. The woman looks towards the armored figure and asks if he is the one called Shaft-san. She introduces herself as Maria, Malta's wife, while Minea glares suspiciously from the safety of her arms. Maria formally thanks Shaft for protecting her husband and their employees during the perilous journey. Shaft, a predator's grin spreading across his face, dismisses her thanks, stating that it's simply his job. He then offers a formal apology for his failure to protect the wagons during the attack. He advises Malta that they must strengthen their security measures for any future journeys. Malta agrees, but notes that hiring a trustworthy security detail will take a significant amount of time. Shaft declares that until then, he will join the security detail himself, much to Malta's delight. He knows with grim certainty that the bandit gang will surely attack them again. He reflects that with Malta's shop and family, the number of things he must protect has grown. He watches as Minea happily embraces her grandmother, a quiet, touching picture of family warmth. Shaft makes a silent, resolute vow to protect everything that is now within his reach. The next day, Shaft stands in a grand, sun-drenched, colonnaded hallway, ready for his new duties. Malta explains that to officially protect him, Shaft will need to be registered with the appropriate guild. He directs his carriage driver to take them to the main guild headquarters to begin the process. Shaft climbs into the lavishly decorated carriage, his intimidating armor a stark contrast to the elegant interior. Inside, he realizes that since Shaft is a different identity from Shubalt's, he will need a new registration. Malta explains that a different guild, one with advantages over the Adventurers Guild, would be better this time. Shaft agrees, deciding that he will register with the Mercenary Guild for this new role. Malta thinks to himself that this is a convenient arrangement for his own protection as well. He announces that their destination is the Mercenary Guild, as he also needs to hire more guards. Their elegant carriage crosses a stone bridge, heading towards a fortified, castle-like structure on a hill. Upon their arrival, Shaft is surprised to learn that there will be a practical skills test. A guild official explains that the primary quality required of mercenaries is their combat strength. She adds that knowledge and skill are also required, as they cannot introduce a mercenary who cannot fight. Therefore, the guild must first confirm his combat skills and techniques themselves. Shaft remains silent, processing this unexpected, and potentially dangerous, requirement. He asks what the practical test will entail, and the official gestures for him to follow her. She explains that he will have a mock battle with a guild examiner, with free use of any weapon. Shaft worries internally that his gun might be too dangerous for a simple mock battle. He asks what would happen if he were to injure the examiner during the test. The official warns him that while a medical team is on standby, a fatal injury would involve the Royal Guard. Shaft decides it would be best to refrain from using his gun for this particular test. He is led into a large, open training yard surrounded by high stone walls and archways. A handsome, long-haired man leaning against a post calls out, asking if Shaft is the new applicant. The guild official confirms this, noting that she has his identification papers from the Maria Company. The man is shocked, grabbing the papers and asking if it's true the company is vouching for him. He scratches his head, wondering if the respectable company has changed its policy on hiring shady individuals. He draws his sword, looks at Shaft, and asks if he is ready to begin the fight. He introduces himself with a confident smile as Siegfried, a former A-rank adventurer. The armored warrior simply replies that his name is Shaft, his voice a metallic rumble. Siegfried explains that Shaft doesn't need to win the duel, only to demonstrate his skills. He invites Shaft to attack whenever he is ready, telling him not to hesitate. In response, Shaft materializes his VMB stun stick, which crackles with a faint electrical energy. Siegfried is surprised by the strange, futuristic weapon, asking what it is. Shaft explains that it is a VMB brand stun stick, hoping that it will be enough to pass the test. He thinks to himself that defeating this man, an A-rank adventurer, might be impossible. Siegfried assesses his opponent, recognizing with certainty that this man is incredibly strong. Shaft feels an aura from Siegfried similar to that of the powerful Sasanqua and Hegemony warriors he has met. Siegfried stands motionless, asking if Shaft is waiting for him to make the first move. "Then I will," Shaft declares, his eyes glowing with a fierce, determined light from within his helmet. He charges forward with incredible speed, declaring that he will test his opponent's strength. He brings the stun stick down in a powerful, overhead arc, which Siegfried deftly parries with his sword. Siegfried lets out a grunt of exertion, impressed by the unexpected force of the blow. Shaft is shocked that his powerful, suit-enhanced attack was repelled so easily. They exchange a rapid, brutal flurry of blows, their weapons clashing in a shower of sparks. Shaft is amazed by his opponent's incredible skill, thinking it's unbelievable how he keeps up. Siegfried realizes with a start that Shaft is parrying his powerful strikes with what appears to be a simple wooden sword. With a confident grin, Siegfried swings his massive wooden sword in a powerful arc. Shaft meets the furious assault head-on, his stun stick sparking against the blade. He is shocked by the force, questioning if this incredible power is a skill. With a determined grunt, Shaft braces himself for the next powerful blow. He roars, pushed back across the training yard by the sheer force of the attack. Planting his feet firmly, he brings the overwhelming momentum to a sudden halt. Shaft catches his breath while Siegfried, surprised, asks what just happened. Siegfried's expression shifts to one of impressed awe, calling him amazing. He tells Shaft that his swordsmanship is reckless and completely undisciplined. Siegfried wonders if Shaft's eyes are truly good enough to parry his attacks. Shaft states plainly that he is not a swordsman at all. He thought close combat was impossible, but surprisingly, he can manage it. Come to think of it, he has been in this position before. He recalls the brutal close quarters fighting in the labyrinth of the Green Demon. Siegfried muses that if he's not a swordsman, perhaps he's a warrior or mage. He challenges Shaft to reveal his true way of fighting. Siegfried takes a powerful, two-handed stance, gathering strength for a major attack. Shaft notes with surprise that his opponent has switched to a two-handed grip. A bead of sweat forms as he admits he has a very bad feeling about this. Siegfried unleashes a massive shockwave of pure force from his sword. Shaft cries out as he is thrown back by the explosive, ground-shattering attack. He stands firm amidst the rubble, having weathered the devastating blast. Siegfried notes it's not a technique for people, but knew Shaft would dodge. "All right," he roars, declaring that it is time to get serious. Shaft parries the charge, knowing he must get serious to be evaluated. The force of the blow sends him sliding backward across the ruined arena. He wanted to see an A-rank's power, but this is becoming a battle of attrition. Gritting his teeth, he decides that he has no other choice. He bellows, pushing his advanced-powered suit to its maximum output. His armored form glows as he braces for the final, decisive clash. He commands his suit, and himself, to endure the coming impact. He charges forward, ready to meet the attack with all of his strength. Siegfried unleashes a massive, full swing, tearing the ground asunder. He screams, "You idiot," as he puts his all into the final attack. He recognizes his opponent's stance as Mirinda of the Sasanqua's technique. With a final roar, he pushes his attack to its absolute limit. He yells that this is not a technique meant to be used on people. "All right," he exclaims, finishing the devastating, ground-shattering swing. His eyes gleam with triumph as he declares he endured and cut through. Suddenly, a thin, bloody gash appears on his torso. "What?" he cries, stumbling back in complete and utter shock. He staggers, his body reacting to the unexpected, unseen wound. Shaft, no longer in his heavy coat, aims his compact submachine gun. He coolly asks Siegfried what he thought of that last attack. Siegfried gasps, wondering what kind of attack it was, if it was magic. He realizes with a grimace that he never heard any incantation for a spell. Shaft tells him to stop prying and simply focus on protecting his client. A small, amused chuckle escapes Siegfried's lips. "All right," he laughs, declaring that Shaft has officially passed the test. The guild official scolds him for destroying the facility as he asks for treatment. Shaft looks on silently as Siegfried sports a mischievous, bandaged grin. Siegfried walks toward the waiting carriage, offering a simple apology for the trouble. Shaft offers to pay for the guild's repairs, but Maria laughs it off. Inside the carriage, Shaft reflects that the former A-rank adventurer was truly amazing. He wonders what would have happened if they had fought with real swords.